Happy Sabbath, happy Sabbath. We'll stand and face Jerusalem and open up.
Let God arise.
Let God arise.
Let his enemies be scattered.
Let his enemy be scattered.
Let them also that hate him flee before him.
Let them also that hate him flee before him.
And smoke is driven away.
And smoke is driven away.
So drive them away.
So drive them away.
As wax melted before the fire.
As wax melted before the fire.
So let the wicked perish at the presence of God.
So let the wicked perish at the presence of God.
But let the righteous be glad.
And let the righteous be glad.
Let them rejoice before God.
Let them rejoice before God.
Yeah, let them rejoice, exceedingly rejoice.
Yeah, let them rejoice, exceedingly rejoice.
I just read through Psalm chapter 68, verse 1 through 3. May the Lord add a blessing to the reader of his word. In Jesus' holy name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Happy Sabbath, people.
Happy Sabbath, bro.
Today's lesson, we're going to talk about climate change or the hand of the Lord. You know, and we're going to have the definition at the beginning and what they say climate change is. There ain't nothing wrong with climate change, because but it's the hand of the Lord that's changing the climate. But they take credit, scientists and whatnot take credit on their climate change. And I was reading an article, and it said back in the day, 50% of scientists believed there was no God, and the other 50 believed there was a God. And the other 50 that believed there was a God, they said, how can all this happen without a God? With their science. Now, in 2022 or whatnot, it's 10%. It's like they moved them out the way and saying, okay, look, we don't believe in this God. We believe in climate change, global warming. We believe everything's happening through these meters and these graphics that we pull up, and it's man doing this. And okay, that's fine. But whenever you took the hand of the Lord away from it, that's when you transgress, and that's when you fell into your own snare, trying to play God. You know what I mean? So I don't have a problem with the climate changes, but we know it's the hand of the Lord that's changing the climate. So we're just going to start from their definition of climate change, and then we're going to go into U.S. regional effects. They saying the effects on what's going to happen when the climate changes. So they already got it all put out. Now we know what the Lord say, but they're going to have what they say. So we're going to read theirs first, then we'll go into Job 37. So right now, Brother Matt going to read climate change and the definition of climate change. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
Climate change refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. These shifts may be natural.
And they say these shifts is natural. Go ahead.
But since the 1800s, human activities have been the main driver of climate change, primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas, which produces heat-trapping gas.
And they said it's producing these heat-trapping gas that's in the atmosphere. But they said after the 1800s it started. Before then it was natural. You know what I mean? There was volcanoes and tsunamis, and that changed the climate. But right now, since the natural state left, 1800s is man. But they got an agenda for this. You know what I mean? They weren't worried about it then, but 1800s it started with coal, oil, gas, and heat that trapped gases within the atmosphere. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
What is climate change? Rising sea levels.
Been around. Go ahead.
Shrinking mountain glaciers.
They've been around. Go ahead.
Ice melting at a faster rate than usual in Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic.
Yeah, go ahead.
Changes in flower and plant blooming time.
Hold up. Changes in flower and plant blooming. Right? Now go ahead and read that Genesis 1:14. That goes back to the 12 and the 13, right?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The slither and the conjunction. Right. And see, it says changes in flower and plant blooming times. Now we know that's for a sign in the season, right? So the Lord ain't gonna always have it set for a fixed date like everybody else do. You know what I mean? That's what man go by. So it says changes in flowers, plants, and blooming. Go ahead.
And God said, let there be lights.
And this is Genesis 1:14. Go ahead.
And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years.
So let them be for signs, seasons, days, and for years. But they said that this climate change, rising of the sea, shrinking the mountain glaciers, ice melting at a faster than a usual rate in Greenland, Antarctica, and the Arctic. Changes in flowers, plants, and blooming of time. All right? So yeah, that's what they say. But we know it's the Lord that changes, give you signs and seasons. You know what I mean? So with that being said, we're going to go to the U.S. regional effects. That's another document they say. So we got the climate change definition, and it's pretty much coal, oil, and gas changing. You know, and gas, heat trapping in the gases within the atmosphere. All right, and then they saying it's a rise in the sea level. What they saying now, climate change is today. Now the regional, go ahead and start reading the regional, Matt.
U.S. regional effects. Below are some of the impacts that are currently visible throughout the U.S. and will continue to affect these regions. According to the third and fourth National Climate Assessment Reports,
Who are these people? Go ahead.
Released by the U.S. Global Change Research Program.
Now this is Matt gonna read this real quick. Like this, they saying happening now. So they being God telling you, okay, this is what's gonna happen, and this is what's happening now. We're gonna let y'all know. We ain't gonna say it's the hand of the Lord. We're gonna say it's man starting at the 1800s. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, before then it was natural, but now it's man doing this. So we got a plan behind this. So we got to kick this off to y'all first before we go to our plan. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead to northeast.
Northeast, heat waves, heavy downpours, and sea level rise pose growing challenges to many aspects of life in the Northeast. Infrastructure, agriculture, fisheries, and ecosystems.
We're going to get to the fisheries later on. Go ahead.
Will be increasingly compromised. Many states and cities are beginning to incorporate climate change into their plans.
Go ahead. Now they're going to the Northeast. They got it all panned out. Go ahead.
Northwest, change in the timing of the stream flow, reduce water supplies from competing demands, sea level rise, erosion, inundation, risk of infrastructure, and increasing ocean acidity pose major threats. Increasing wildfire, insect outbreak, and tree disease are causing widespread tree die-off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Southeast, sea level rise poses widespread and continuing threats to region, economy, and environment. Extreme heat will affect health, energy, agriculture, and more. Decreased water availability will have economic and environmental impact.
If you quit going over there and taking people's water and putting them in these bottles,
yeah,
you know what I mean, and trying to do it for your game, then we'll have some natural water. Right. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Midwest, extreme heat, heavy downpours and flooding will affect infrastructure.
We always have flooding in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Health, agriculture, forestry, transportation, air and water quality, and more. Climate change will also exacerbate a range of risks to the Great Lakes.
Go ahead.
Southwest, increased heat, drought, and insect outbreaks, all linked to climate change, have increased wildfire, decline in water supply, reduced agriculture yield, health impact in cities due to heat and flooding and erosion in coastal areas are additional concerns.
Okay, now, when they saying all this, like the heat outbreak, you know, ever since I was small, Texas has always been hot.
Yeah.
I've been getting bit by mosquitoes all my life. So I don't know what's increasing. I mean, did I get bit by 10 more mosquitoes this year or 5 more mosquitoes this year? But if Matt had read all of this, and there ain't none that's mentioned of the Lord.
No.
They took his fear out of it. They took his creation out of it. Took him being the one that's running everything and gave it to scientists. So scientists said, okay, this is the U.S. regional effect by the U.S. Global Change Research Program. And we're going to say, okay, we're going to do this to y'all. We're going to tell y'all this. Because see, now, we got to get away from these gas and oils. So now they're trying to do something else for their game. Now, when they was with the gas and oils, there was a lot of people dying over resources and whatnot. But nobody hear about that.
Right.
You just go to the pump and pump your gas. You don't know there's a lot of deaths behind you pumping their gas in different regions of the world. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things set up that hurt mankind and they so-called called the economy to get this gas and oil because they greed instead of just having fair, that a lot of people die, but you just go to the pump and pump the gas. You don't never hear the stories about it, right? So, okay, with that being said, we're going to tell you who and what the Lord is doing. Because, see, these scientists, they ain't trying to hear what the Lord said. They said it's a sight seen for them. They got to research it and see for themselves before we say it's something natural up in a God up in the sky. You know, that's what scientists say. You know what I mean? They ain't half of them atheists anyway. You know what I mean? So we're going to go to Job 37. We're going to hit the book. I just want to get that climate definition out the way. And we're going to see what Job said. And we're going to tell you who doing this, and who you should be fearing, and who's behind this so-called climate change. Is it the hand of the Lord? Of course it is. So Job 37 and 1. We'll go to Job 37 and 1. We're going to read 1 through 13. Go ahead, brother man.
At this also my heart trembled, and is moved out of his place. Hear attentively to the noise of his voice, and the sound that goeth out of his mouth. He directed it under the whole heaven, and his lightning unto the ends of the earth.
He said under the whole heaven. Go ahead.
After it a voice roared, he thundered with the voice of his excellency, and he will not stay him when his voice is heard. God thundered marvelously with his voice. Great things doeth he which we cannot comprehend.
But they say they can comprehend it. Nope. They didn't give you the whole breakdown of what's going on. But the Lord said you can't comprehend this. Go ahead.
But he said to the snow, be thou on the earth. Likewise to the small rain, and to the great rain of his strength.
No, it's the people that did this to make the snow start falling and stop falling.
Of his strength.
Of his strength. Go ahead, brother.
He seeketh up the hand of every man, that all men may know his work.
Yes, sir.
Then the beasts go into the dens and remain in their place.
I don't know if the beasts go into the den and remain in their place. Yep. Why? Because the Lord commanded it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're going to go in your den, you're going to sit there. You know what I mean? And whenever that little sheep run out and the animal, some come kill the sheep, the Lord set that up. But how deep is you going with this thing? How serious you taking this God? Yeah, he tell you all through Job, baby. Yep. If a raven hungry, who you think feed it? Yep. But ain't nobody going that deep.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It's just, you know what they can say, the wrong place at the wrong time. That's what they say. But it's the Lord doing all this stuff. Until you understand that, you ain't going to have to fear this God. And so these scientists don't have to fear this God. Go ahead, brother man.
Out of the south cometh the whirlwind.
Yes, sir.
And cold out of the north. By the breath of God, frost is given.
What? By the breath of God, frost is given?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And the breath of the waters is straight. Also by the watering he wearied the thick cloud.
Yes, sir.
He scattered his bright cloud, and it is turned round about by his counsel, that they may do whatsoever he commanded them upon the face of the whole world, of the world in the earth.
That the scientist said.
Yeah.
They commanded. He said what he commanded them upon the face of the whole earth. Go ahead.
He caused it to come, whether for correction.
For correction?
Or for his land.
Or for his land?
Or for mercy.
Or for mercy. See, that's what the Lord is doing. So what you read, what they, the definition they had is what the Lord is doing. He's correcting everything. When a man go pollute all this up and do this, the Lord got to correct the land. It's either for the land or for mercy. Or you can see a tsunami roll up on somebody. They've been eating a lot of unclean stuff over there in Indonesia. So here comes this hurricane. That's for the people. Correct. You know what I mean? It's for correction of the people of his dietary law. So he corrected everything up. When he put blood inside the sea, you know what I mean, inside in the Pharaoh days. Right. What happened? Did it stay bloody? Nope. He corrected it, didn't he? Right. So we're not worried about climate change. You better worry about what thus say the Lord. You know what I mean? And try to get your salvation. But they got you pushing this climate change thing, which is something is changing, but we know in times, you know, it's gonna change. And the Lord said diverse places, ain't it? Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening. Things is changing, but the Lord already called this, but they trying to take credit to push something else. And that's cobalt. And we're going to get to that cobalt later on. You know what I mean? And they just one mineral we choosing. Or one rock, if you will. And we're going to see who doing this. Let's go to Psalms 104. See who they dealing with. Because whenever you're throwing out the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, you got a mistake. And I got a problem with it, so I'm just going to blast them straight up on this climate change or this global warming they call it. Because whenever you take the Lord's hand out of it, then it's your opinion and what you think. Psalm 104. I had to read all this because you finna see how precise the Lord said, telling you who running this thing. Go ahead and kick it off, Matt.
Bless the Lord, O my soul. O Lord, my God, thou art very great. Thou art clothed with honor and majesty. Who covers thyself with light?
Who?
As with a garment. Who stretcheth out the heaven like a curtain?
Yes, sir.
Who led the beams of his chamber in the water? Who maketh the clouds his chariot? Who walketh upon the wings of the wind? Who maketh his angels spirits, his ministers of flame and fire?
Yes, sir.
Who laid the foundations of the earth, that it should not be removed
not
forever?
Man. Go ahead.
Thou coverest it with the deep, as with a garment. The water stood above the mountain. At thy rebuke they fled. At the voice of thy thunder they hasted away.
And the same ones that said it's global changing if a tornado comes, they gonna flee. Ain't it? You know what I mean?
See.
So it's the Lord doing this. You know what I
Right.
mean? If a glacier fall, if a boat right there, they're gonna try to get out the way, ain't they?
See.
So read that one again.
At thy rebuke they fled. At the voice of thy thunder they hasted away.
But they talking big on paper. Go ahead.
They go up by the mountains. They go down by the valleys into the place which thou hast founded for them.
Yeah.
Thou hast set a bound that they may not pass over.
See, it's a bound being set that you may not pass over. I don't care how many glaciers melting. The water gonna recede to stay where it's supposed to stay. But that's they fail to realize because they know this because they got an agenda they pushing. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
That they turn not again to cover the earth. He sendeth the springs into the valleys, which run among the hills. They give drink to every beast of the field. The wild asses quench their
So the
thirst.
Lord said, I'm the one giving them drink. Go ahead.
By them shall the fowls of the heaven have their habitation, which sing among the branches.
He said the birds even singing. Go ahead.
He watered the hills from his chambers. The earth is satisfied with the fruit of thy works.
Yes, go ahead.
He causes the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth.
The Lord is doing all this.
That's right.
So when you just driving on the street, you see the cows eating, just think it's the hand of the Lord. Go ahead.
And the wine to make it glad the heart of man, and oil to make his face to shine, and bread which strengtheneth a man's heart.
Yeah, go ahead.
The trees of the Lord are full of sap, the cedars of Lebanon which he had planted.
Yes, sir.
Where the birds make their nest. As for the stork, the fir trees are her house.
Yeah, go ahead.
The high hills are a refuge for the wild goats,
Listen to what the Lord saying. Go ahead.
and the rocks for the conies. He appointed the moon for seeds.
Yeah.
The sun knows it's going down.
We just read that, didn't we? Go ahead.
Sun, thou makest darkness, and it is night. Wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth.
Yeah.
The young lions roar after their prey, and seek their meat from God.
Now, the whole duty of man is to fear God and keep his commandments.
Right.
But ain't nobody doing this. You hear what the Lord is saying. Go ahead. I'll finish that, man.
The sun arises.
Yeah.
They gather themselves together and lay them down in their den. Man goeth forth into his work and to his labor until evening.
Now, man go forth into his work. Where they going? They going into their scientific labs, or they bio labs,
Right.
or they, or they chemtrails to see how to do the chemtrails up in the sky. You know what I mean? The Lord allowed them to go to work, but they want to sit up here and deny God, and that's a problem. Go ahead, brother.
O Lord, how manifold are thy works,
Yeah.
and wisdom hast thou made them all. The earth is full of thy riches.
No, the Lord made some of them.
The earth is full of thy riches.
But see, the Lord made some of the sciences and other sciences made by eugenics and everything else.
The
right?
earth is full of thy
Okay,
riches.
go ahead, brother.
So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping, innumerable, both small and great beasts.
Yes, sir. Now, with that being, now you see who. It ain't over yet. We're gonna go back to Job. Go back to Job. I want them to see who they dealing with, right?
Right.
And we're gonna start that at 38. Job 38 and 5. Then we're gonna jump to 8. So Job 38 and 5. Now we still are dealing with who? Now they didn't have their climate change and their definition and their U.S. regional effects. So we're gonna tell you who really doing this, right? So Job 38 and 5. Go ahead, brother.
Who had laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who had stretched the line upon it?
All right, skip down to verse 8.
Or who shut up the sea with doors, when it break forth as if it had issues out of the womb?
Yeah, so he talking about a raging sea, right? All right, we're gonna skip down to 25. They said it was the climate change and the different things going on with the waters and everything. But the Lord been doing this thing. All right, go to 25. Go ahead and read, brother.
Who had divided a water course for the overflowing of water, or a way for the lightning of thunder?
Okay, hold up. So now the glaciers is falling down. So now we got a rise in the sea. But the Lord just told you right here. You know what I mean? Go ahead. We're gonna skip down to 36. We're just gonna try to go through this real quick because it's a huge lesson. I mean, we on the part of who. It should be on your paper. That little section is who and who you dealing with. Go ahead.
Who had put wisdom in the inward part, or who had given understanding to the heart?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who can number the clouds in wisdom, or who can stay the waters of heaven?
Not man. Go ahead.
Verse 41.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Who provided the raven? Who provided for the raven his food, When the young ones cry unto God, they wonder for lack of meat.
But we were just talking about that, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, raven just looking up to us, and the Lord gonna feed the raven.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't that something?
Yes, sir.
But they ain't trying to hear none of that, because they saying this is changing and the glaciers falling and the waters receding up and going down and people doing this. No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. You could do, man gonna destroy it anyway. They always have. But the Lord gonna correct it. Job already told you he gonna correct everything you do. Cause see, why? Because it's the day he coming, right? All right, so now we're gonna go to the next section. No, my bad. We're gonna go to Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45. Isaiah 45 and 21. I tried to jump the gun big time. Everybody would have been happy.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
I'm gonna reel you back in, bro.
Yeah.
I got you.
I was going to say
Isaiah 45 and 21. Go ahead, brother.
Tell ye and bring them near. Yeah. Let them take counsel together. Who had declared this from ancient times? Who had told it from that time? Have not I the Lord? And there is no God else beside me, a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me.
The Lord said, let them have counsel together and get in their little group. You know what I mean? He said, there is no God else besides me, and a just God and a Savior. There is none beside me. And I just want you to read that because they think it is. You know what I mean? But through their evolution. You know, we didn't come up from no ape and none of that. I mean, come on, people. You know what I mean? How can we come up from an ape, and how can we come up out of eugenics and out of a molecule and have this heart to beat? And the body is so brilliant. It heals itself. And that's what the scientists that was 50% back in the day was saying. How can this happen without there being some kind of God or something? But now the 10% is saying, you know, no, eugenics and do this, do a molecule to hit the earth, and, you know, we sprung, you know how it goes. They just keep going on and on. The climate change, global warming, and birth defects. All right, we're finna go to Psalms 147. We still on this who you think you're dealing with, pretty much. This ain't man. Psalms 147. Go ahead, brother.
Who covered the heaven with clouds? Who prepared rain for the earth? Who maketh grass to grow upon the mountain?
How many times the Lord got to say it? I mean, it ain't man. Who you think doing this? You know what I mean? And I wanted to pound that in their head, when they run up on this channel on YouTube. You know what I mean? This is for them that's putting our God on the back burner. You know, we got an issue with that. You know what I mean? Because, okay, the climate going to change, but it's the hand of the Lord changing the climate. So Proverbs 30 and 4, please. We're going to do it that way. Proverbs 30 and 4. You know, they get me so hot sometimes, I got to calm down. So, you know, our time ain't now, you know, so we ain't really got no army. You know what I mean? But when it comes to this book, we'll let the book cut you up. We're going to stand back and let the book cut you up. Go ahead, brother.
Who has ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who had gathered the wind in his fist? Who had bound the waters in their garment? Who had established all the ends of the earth? What is his name? What is his son's name, if thou can tell?
They don't want to say it. Why? Because they half of them atheists.
Right.
They ain't going to say the Most High. They going to say it's coming up out of that rock with some jelly behind it. It's formed or something. Right? So, with that being said, now we're going to go to another section, what they say. This is the section with Joshua when he asked the Lord to, you know, help him out, and the Lord stopped the sun from moving. Right? But we're going to go to their article and see how they say it happened. And how their little instruments got them going way back. So that means they fortune tellers, ain't you? They, you know, they can tell the past and the future, ain't it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So they can tell you what happened from a long time ago. And they really can't. Nobody can. But read that top. You got it, Josh? Read that top part.
Joshua stopped the sun 3,224 years ago today, scientists say.
Okay, read that up under there.
Oh, it's pretty small, bro. You got one, Bill? Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's better. Researchers claim epic biblical story its earliest account of annular eclipse that occurred on October 30th, 1207.
Wait, they said October 30th, 1207
They
what?
know the date, man.
BCE.
Yeah.
They going way back and said, okay, that was October 30th. So, I don't know what kind of instruments you got to say that. You know what I mean? But if you pay attention to this, you may learn something. You know what I mean? Because the earth got us so dumbed down and they want you to just know the basic stuff. So read that again, man. That's kind of funny.
Researchers claim epic biblical story is earliest account of annular eclipse that occurred on October 30th, 1207 BCE. Also helps pinpoint reigns of Pharaoh Ramesses and Memphis.
Yeah, Ramses. You know, that was an old Egyptian god. I mean, Pharaoh god. You know what I mean? Now go ahead and read that second part.
Cambridge researchers announced Monday that they have pinpointed the date of the biblical account of Joshua stopping the sun.
Yeah.
Which they claim is the date of the oldest eclipse ever recorded.
Now they made it the eclipse.
Wow.
Ever recorded. So you went way back in time, 3,224 years ago, and now you're going to take the Lord, what the Lord did for Joshua, and call it an eclipse. That's what they do. You know what I mean? They don't want to put no credit nowhere. They want to just downgrade the book. But we already know who's running this, but go ahead.
To October 30th, 1207 BCE. Exactly 3,224 years ago.
Right, go ahead.
In a paper published in the Royal Astronomical Society Journal of Astronomy and Geophysics, researchers explained that they were consequently also able to refine the dates of the reigns of two Egyptian pharaohs of that era, Ramses the Great and his son, Memphis.
Yeah, go ahead.
The paper reinforces research published earlier this year by Israeli scientists.
Hold up, by who? Israel?
By Israeli scientists.
Not an Israelite.
Israeli.
We're gonna keep the signs and the wonders. So Israeli scientists come up and say, okay, this is an eclipse. This is a total eclipse, right? And plus, while we there, we found Ramses and him at the same time. You know what I mean? In Memphis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Which I also interpreted the biblical story as referring to an eclipse on the same day.
Oh, so they just happen to fall on the eclipse on the same day. So we went back in the past with our little instruments. What the Lord saying he stopped the sun, that was just an eclipse. That's all that was. Lord really didn't stop the sun. It was an eclipse. That's what they saying. Go to the next page. Yeah. Go ahead, brother. Josh, change it over. That's page 2, right?
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
If these words are describing a real observation, then a major astronomical event was taking place. The question for us to figure out is what the text actually means, said paper co-author Colin Humphreys from the University of Cambridge.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
Modern English translation, which followed the King James translation of 1611.
Look what they say. Go ahead.
Usually interpret this text to mean that the sun and moon stopped moving.
Okay, go ahead.
Humphrey explained. But going back to the original Hebrew text.
Now hold up. We ain't even got the original. We're dealing with modern day Hebrew and Yiddish.
Right.
But these cats running around there thinking they're speaking the Hebrew language. That died with us since after 70 AD. You know what I mean? But go ahead.
But going back to the original Hebrew text, we determined that an alternative meaning.
Wait, we determined that an alternative meaning, go ahead,
could be that the sun and moon just stopped doing what they normally do. They stopped shining.
They stopped shining. Now it ain't nowhere. We're gonna read what really happened in Joshua. They said they even stopped shining.
Man.
So we know whenever the moon loses shine and the sun loses shine, what is that?
That's the day of the Lord.
That's the day of the Lord. So they don't have no understanding. They just throwing something out there just to throw it out there. You know what I mean? And they went back to the modern Hebrew language and said the sun stopped shining. Even modern Hebrew language can't say that because the sun ain't never stopped shining, right? It ain't never stopped shining. Go ahead, brother.
The interpretation. Hold on.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the second one. Right?
Yeah. Humphrey. Humphrey said that if the biblical account means that the light from the sun appeared to stop shining, it may refer to an eclipse.
Ain't that something?
They just guessing.
I mean, but no, that's their instruments.
Right.
Taking them way back in the past. Go ahead.
This interpretation is supported by the fact that the Hebrew word translated stand still has the same root as a Babylonian word used in ancient astronomical text to describe eclipses, he said.
So now the Hebrew language and Babylonian, which is Ham, is the same language.
Same language.
That's what they saying.
Wow.
They all twisted up. They're not thinking nobody really reading this. You know what I mean? They're just looking at it like, okay, we're going to say the Hebrew Israelite language and the Babylonian language is the same, and they both mean stand still. So it's an eclipse. You know what I mean? They just take the Lord's word away. Go ahead, brother, man.
Yeah.
Y'all hold on. We going through a lot of stuff. We just trying to just slam them anywhere they try to turn about this global warming. You know what I mean? Because they can't say, I mean, this part of their so-called climate change or they global warming or what the scientists say what's happening is, okay, it's an eclipse. The Lord can't move nothing. He can't stand nothing still. He can't move the waters up. Man is doing this. And, you know, they just all over the place. So go ahead, bro.
The new research found, however, that the annular eclipse in which the moon passes directly in front of the sun, but is too far away to cover the disk completely, leading to the characteristic of ring of fire appearance, occurred on October 30th, 1207 BCE.
Man, there ain't no way you can call that.
Ring of fire.
Ring of fire.
Man.
Go ahead.
The
Sounds like
research-
some Lord of the Rings stuff to me.
Man.
Go ahead.
The researchers note that the ancient world did not distinguish linguistically between total and annular eclipse.
Yeah, go ahead.
The researchers developed a new eclipse code which takes into the account variations of the Earth's rotation over time. Cambridge University said in its statement, from the calculations, they determined that the only annular eclipse visible from Canaan between 1500 to 1050 BC was on October 30th, 1207 BC in the afternoon.
They even said it was in the afternoon to be more precise. They said that was the only time that happened. So it just happened one time.
Yeah.
And it just had to be on the day that the Lord made the sun stop moving. Still for this battle, right? Go ahead.
Independent evidence that the Israelites were in Canaan between 1500 and 1050 BC can be found in Memphis. Still, the Cambridge University statement said. The paper then goes to apply this event to precisely date.
Wait, precisely date. Go ahead.
The reigns of two ancient Egyptian pharaohs.
So it just happened to be on that same time. So it had to be Israel. So it had to be when the Lord made the sun stop moving. So it had to be here when they did. So it's an eclipse. It ain't no miracle. Lord didn't stop nothing moving. It was the eclipse. That's all it was. See, that's what scientists do. You know what I mean? So it ain't no global change. It's, you know, and all this. That's what we said. It's the hand of the Lord. So with that being said, we're gonna go read exactly what happened. Remember they said the sun stopped shining, didn't it? We're gonna see if the sun stopped shining.
Stop moving.
They said shining. Joshua 10. Joshua 10 and verse 1. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
Now it came to pass when Adonizar, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel were among them.
Yeah, we're going to skip down to, I just want to read that first part so you know what's happening. 4, go ahead.
Come up unto me and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it had made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel.
Yeah, we're going to skip down to verse 10 through 14. Go ahead.
And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Betharon, and smote them at Ezekiel and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Betharon, that the Lord cast down great stones from heaven.
Hold up. This is global warming. He cast down
Yeah.
great stones from heaven. Go ahead.
Upon them unto Ezekiel, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they with whom the children of Israel slew with the sword.
They was going to battle, and the Lord dropped them hailstones down because he helping them fight this war. And he said the hailstone killed more people than the Israelites slew. You know what I mean? Because this is the hand of the Lord. Go ahead.
Then spake Joshua to the Lord, in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Son, stand thou still upon Gibeon.
She said stop shining.
Stand thou still upon Gibeon.
Okay, eclipse, the ring.
Stand thou
Okay.
still upon Gibeon.
All right, go ahead.
And thou moon in the valley of
And the
Ajalon.
moon in the valley of Abaddon. Go ahead.
And the sun stood still.
Yeah.
And the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemy. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and it hasted not to go down about a whole
And
day.
it hastened not to go down about a whole day. That's all it did. But they said it lost its shine, and there was a ring and everything else. But the Lord didn't say that. And what's so cute about it, he said in the midst of the day. So it was standing still right in the middle. And the moon on the other side of the earth, you know how the moon is. It's dark over here, light over there, light over here, dark over here. I think we in New York is 7 hours difference from Jerusalem, right? And California is like a 10 to 8 hour difference from Jerusalem. You know what I mean? So they just give you a pinpoint of where the sun and the moon was sitting on with themselves, you know. And I think Texas is 8 hour difference time from Jerusalem. You know what I mean? So they have no idea what they talking about. They add to the book. So now what they add to the book, we're going to show them, and let's go to Nahum.
You want to finish that verse 14?
Yeah, yes, sir. Go ahead, my bad.
And there was no day like that before or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man, for the Lord fought for Israel.
And they said in that article that it just only happened one time. So they trying to take the scripture, because the Lord said it wasn't no other day since then.
Yeah.
Since then. So they said it just only happened one time. You know what I mean? So they really got to go get the scriptures to understand what they're really talking about. So they use the scriptures for their science. You know what I mean? To try to overthrow what the Lord say. We're going to go to Nahum. Yeah, they killed me, boy.
They gonna be dead.
Nahum. 1, 2 through 8. Nahum 1. Go ahead, bro.
God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord.
We'll wait till they get there. Oh, okay. It's right before Micah. Right before Micah. We're in the middle of books we hardly ready to go to. Now, the Lord had put a hailstone down from heaven and stopped the sun. It ain't never happened before. The article they said it was an eclipse, right? So the Lord gonna show you. He gonna rebuke the sea. You know what I mean? Not only I can stop the sun, I'm gonna do something else for you. Go ahead. Verse 2.
God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revenges and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversary.
We just seen that in Joshua, didn't we?
Yep.
You know, he killed more people with hailstones than they did what they swore. Go ahead.
He reserved wrath for his enemy. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked.
Yeah.
The Lord had his way in the whirlwind,
Yeah.
and in the storm,
Yep.
and the clouds of dust of his feet.
Oh man, come on, go ahead.
He rebuked the sea.
He rebuked the sea, so he tell the sea to calm down. Hold up, you going too high, calm down. But they saying glaciers falling, it's going up, right? Go ahead.
and making it dry,
Yeah.
and dried up all the rivers, Bashan languishes, and Carmel and the flowers of Lebanon languish.
Yeah.
The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Yeah, the world and all that dwell therein.
Right there, man. Okay, yeah. I mean, and we can go on because Matt just kept blasting through that because that's how the Lord worked, right? All right, we're gonna go to. I want to skip that. We're gonna just go straight to 8.
Going straight to 8.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to speed up a little bit. We got a lot to cover. We ain't moving over. Go ahead.
But with the overrunning flood,
Yeah.
he will make the utter end of the place thereof, and darkness shall pursue his enemy.
That's gonna be eclipse, the darkness of his enemy. Or whenever a cloud went over the moon and he turned stuff dark. But he ain't never did no taking a shine off the sun. That ain't never happened. Not since I've been reading the book. You know what I mean? Okay, so but that's future time. So now with that being said, and this is off that eclipse thing, tell you how the Lord rebuked the sea. Now we're going to go to how the Lord rebuked the sea and the wind and the water. Just the same precept. Let's go to Luke 8. We gotta hit this home for the ones watching that to show you you scientists ain't running none on your global warming, and your climate change. Yeah, man, you can say it's man, but man gonna mess up anything. They always did that. The Lord always corrected. He told you that in Job. All right. Luke 8:22. Go ahead, brother.
Now it came to pass on a certain day that he went into a ship with his disciples.
Yeah.
And he said unto them, let us go over unto the other side of the lake. And they launched forth. But as they sailed, he fell asleep. And there came down a storm of wind on the lake.
Yeah.
They were filled with water and were in jeopardy. And they came to him and woke him, saying, Master, Master, we perish. Then he arose and rebuked the wind and the raging of the water. And they ceased, and there was a calm.
Yeah, see, they panicked though, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
The Lord just said, wind, calm down. Probably just sit back down, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And the wind calmed down. He rebuked it. Ain't no climate change, no global warming. You know what I mean? It ain't none of that. It's the Lord's hand. And that's why we putting it in your head over and over and over. That way you can at least get one of these, you know, and try to understand what the Lord is doing here. All right, let's go to Judges 6. Go ahead, brother, finish it.
And he said unto them, where is your faith? And they being afraid wondered, saying one to another, what manner of man is this? For he commanded even the winds and the water, and they obey him.
He said, man, who kind of man is this? You know what I mean? But see, it wasn't no faith in it. See, they took the faith away from the Lord. When these scientists was 50-50, at least they still had a little faith in God. But now it's 10%. They took the faith out of it. So, that, you know, they were like, what kind of man is this that's doing all this rebuking the sea and whatnot? Y'all don't know who he is. It's going to get hot around here later on. I'm talking about the lake of fire. All right, Judges 6. Yeah, global warming going to heat up. Day of the Lord. It's going to get warm, all right. Judges 6:34. This is explaining here that the Lord put some. He was asking the question on who the Lord was, and he wanted to just say, Lord, just show me a sign. Have this happen, that way I know it's really you and what's really going on. So the Lord did it. He said, have this happen. And the Lord did it. You know what I mean? So it just shows you that it ain't about climate change or global warming. It's what's happening in that sign and season. And it's called science. What you believe in your knowledge on who you serve. You know what I mean? So the Lord has to show him a sign. You know what I mean? So go ahead. So you can't explain this with global warming. So take your instruments, right, and go to Judges and tell me, can you explain this with your instruments? How the dew got on the ground and how it didn't get on the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean? Can you go back 3,200 whatever days and tell me about this? They can't, you know what I mean? So these just things that, tell me about these type of things that's going on. So it's quick. Go ahead, Brother Mac.
But the Spirit of the Lord came upon Gideon,
Yeah.
and he blew a trumpet.
Yeah, that means war. War finna go down. Go ahead.
And Eleazar was gathered after him. And he sent messengers throughout all Manasseh,
Yeah.
who also was gathered after him, and he sent messengers unto Asher, and unto Zebulun, and unto Naphtali.
Yeah.
And they came up to meet them. And Gideon said unto God, if thou wilt save Israel by mine hand, as thou hast said, behold, I will put a fleece of wool in the floor. And if the dew be on the fleece only, and if it be dry upon all the earth beside, then shall I know that thou wilt save Israel by my hand, as thou hast said.
And Gideon, you know what I'm saying, he's going to save Israel. But the question was, he said, behold, he asking the Lord this, because he kind of confused, kind of nervous. I'm dealing with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He came to me, right? So he's telling the Lord here, he said, behold, I will put out a fleece of wool in a float, right? And if the dew be on the fleece only, so now it ain't gonna no dew be on the ground, it's just gonna be on a rag, on the fleece only. So he's trying to test this thing, right? Now put your instruments on this, please, try to. You know what I mean? And it says, and if the dew be on the fleece only, and if it be dry upon all the earth, he says, so I'm gonna lay this rag down, and the dew be on the fleece, but it be dry on both sides. Then shall I know that thou shalt save Israel by my hand, and as thou hast said. Now go ahead and read 38, man.
And it was so. So he rose up early on the morrow,
Yeah, go ahead.
and thrust the fleece together,
Right.
and wringed the dew out of the fleece, a bowl full of water.
Yeah, so it was he just wringed it out, but it was dry on the side. Now put your instruments on that, Mr. Scientific Man. You know what I mean? Now go ahead.
And Gideon said unto God, let not thine anger be hot against me, and I will speak but this once, let me prove, I pray thee, but this one.
He said, Lord, I got one more question. He believed it. He said, I got to try something one more time because, I'm going to, Lord, do this for me. Go ahead.
With the fleece. Let it now be dry only upon the fleece and upon all the ground, and let there be dew.
Now he said, okay, now let it be the opposite. Now the fleece be dry and it be wet on all the ground. Vice versa. All right, go ahead.
And God did so that night. For it was dry upon the fleece only, and there was dew on all the ground.
Ain't that something? So he ready now. He ready to fight.
Yep.
And I'm serving the true and living God. But put your instruments on that. Explain how the fleece had dew on it and the ground was dry, or the ground had dew on it and the fleece was dry.
Right.
Who doing that? He told you who
Yep.
at the beginning then. Who? You know what I mean? Not man. I just had to throw that story there because it's a tripped out story. We're going to go to Jeremiah 5 now.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 5. Jeremiah 5 and 21. But the Lord set the bounds. So ain't nothing going to happen to this earth that he ain't going to allow. Right? So we ain't got to worry about that. I know they say global warming and all this. I mean, you can save the land, you can reserve parks and whatnot. That's fine. Stop cutting down so much trees. You know what I mean? Or do something like that. But it don't matter what you do because the Lord gonna correct it. Because he coming. You know what I mean? And he gonna bring his kingdom. His kingdom is coming down here on earth. So okay. All right, go ahead and read that Jeremiah 5 and 21, man. Go ahead.
Hear now this, old foolish people.
Yeah.
And without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, saith the
Lord
Lord.
said, fear ye not me? Go ahead.
Will ye not tremble at my presence?
They ain't though, but they will. Go ahead.
Which have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree.
The perpetual decree mean forever, ain't it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That it cannot pass.
That it cannot pass. So I don't care what fall in the ground, what does this, what does that. That water ain't gonna breach a certain point. Go ahead, brother man.
And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail.
Yeah.
Though they roar, yet can they not pass over.
If I'm gonna send a tsunami to you, I'm gonna send that tsunami, but the water gonna come back. Cause see, it's for correction.
Yep.
Remember he told you for the land. Now, if I want to punish these people, I'm gonna send that water and it's gonna go over its bounds. I'm God, but I'm gonna bring it right back. You know what I mean? It ain't got nothing to do with nothing else. You know what I mean? Is that over? Yeah, go ahead.
But this people had a revolting and rebellious heart.
Yeah.
They are revolted and gone.
Yeah.
Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord
They
our
ain't
God.
gonna fear the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because it's a money thing. It's a family thing. It's greed. It's population control. You know what I mean? It's everything wrapped in one. But see, the Lord already called this. Go ahead.
They give it rain.
Yeah.
Both the former and the latter rain.
Yeah.
In the latter, in his season, he reserveth unto us appointed weeks of the harvest.
Yeah, and they saying, droughts and everything. Yeah, it's the Lord that get it right.
Right.
And you think that's bad if you don't come up and serve him in time, you will have drought in your land.
For correction.
For correction. All right, with that being said, we're going to go to, what's that, 2 Samuel? 2 Samuel 22. What are we dealing with, man? I mean, you listen to these people, we'll all be cut off. How can a maker, you going to come be smarter than the maker? I done made mankind, now they want to be smarter than me. Yeah, it's about to, how I go down. Go ahead, 2 Samuel 22 and 1. Go ahead.
And David spake unto the Lord the words of this song in the day that the Lord had delivered him out of the hand of all his enemies and out of the hand of Saul.
And see, David telling this story talking about Jesus, Now we're going to go ahead and skip down to verse 7 and we're going to read through 19. Let's check out what he say here. Go ahead.
In my distress I called upon the Lord.
Yeah.
And cried to my God.
Yeah.
And he did hear my voice out of his temple.
Yeah.
And my cry did enter into his ears.
Who is this we talking about?
Talking about the Lord.
That's the Lord. Jesus cried upon the Father, ain't it? Go ahead.
Then the earth shook and trembled.
Yeah.
The foundation of the heaven moved and shook because he was wroth.
Yeah.
That
And they ain't got nothing about shaking. They have an earthquake. You know what I mean? They read 3, 5, this and 6, and no, the whole earth shook. Go ahead.
there went up a smoke out of his nostril,
Yeah.
And fire out of his mouth devour.
Now, we know the smoke out of his nostril, they're going to say, you know, in this volcano or whatever, you know what I mean? But they just going to say, you know, they're going to always have their tools there. Go ahead.
Coals was kindled by it.
Yeah.
He bowed to heaven also and came down, and darkness was under his feet.
Yeah, go ahead.
He rode upon a cherub and did fly.
Yeah.
And he was seen upon the wings of the wind.
Yeah, because that wind was hawking, boy. It was moving, you know, go ahead.
And he made darkness and pavilions round about him, dark waters and thick clouds of the sky.
I don't know, maybe that's the eclipse? I'm not sure because, you know, it was dark.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a misunderstanding. They, you know, they had to hit their components a couple of times to wake it up. Go ahead.
Through the brightness before him were
Yeah.
coals of fire kindled.
Go ahead.
The Lord thundered from heaven,
Yeah.
and the Most High uttered his voice.
Now, who is that? The Lord thunder from heaven, the Most High uttered his voice. That's the Father, ain't it?
Right.
Go ahead.
He sent out arrows and scattered them, lightnings and discomfited them.
Yeah.
And the channels of the sea appeared. The foundation of the world was discovered.
Man, I can see why man's heart's failing, you know, towards the end time. Go ahead.
At the rebuking of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his
This
nostrils.
is just the breath of his nostril. Go ahead.
He sent from above. He took me. He drew me out of many waters.
Yeah.
He delivered me from my strong enemy and from them that hated me, for they were too strong for me.
Yeah, go ahead.
They prevented me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my stay.
And this one thing about the Lord, he always let a man that's in range rule over you. And then that's why he said they was too strong for me. You know what I mean? Because see, he let everything play out. Everything got to be fulfilled. He said, I got to lead your angels, man, to come down here and tear y'all up. But he let everybody that rule over you at that time, let them do what they do. Right? Go ahead, Matt. That's it? Yeah, 19, yeah, okay. Now we're finna go to another section. Y'all hold on, hold tight, you know what I mean? This is about cobalt and their prices. Now this what's happening in the world today, you know, we run up on these articles, and that's where you're getting your electric cars from and all and whatnot. And cobalt is causing a lot of, you know, deaths. It's causing a lot of birth deformities. You know what I mean? So now, remember we read that earlier, which was here, about the climate change, about coal, oil, and gas, and heat and trap gas. So now they want to go to something else to leave the coal and all that. They want to go to what they call, you heard it 100 times, clean energy, right? You didn't heard it 100 times. So now we're going to see what's going to happen when they go get this clean energy and who got to suffer for it. Because there's always somebody suffering. We just getting the results. Electric car, cell phones, doing this. We're going to see what's going on with that. So this is cobalt in the minerals. And cobalt is a rock that's in batteries and whatnot. And it's like a mineral, you know what I mean? So go ahead and read that, Matt. Yeah, cobalt mineral.
Cobalt mineral. Cobalt is a bluish gray, shiny, brittle, metallic element.
And you don't never hear about this stuff. You just live it, right? Go ahead.
It has a magnetic property similar to iron.
Yeah.
There are no significant minerals of cobalt. It is rare and obtained mostly through refining or nickel ore.
Okay, a nickel, go ahead.
It is used in super alloys
Yeah.
for jet engines,
For fire?
chemical magnets,
Yeah.
and cemented carbides for cutting tools.
And here go the daily prices down here. And look at the cobalt price. Go ahead and read that, Matt.
Cobalt, 33,000
Yeah.
per metric.
For metric.
Per metric ton. I
Yeah.
guess it is.
So, you know, 33,000 per metric ton. You know, for cobalt. This thing is, this the number one, and they said it was a nickel ore, right? This the number one rock that's being produced in the world today. I mean, yeah, you got your gold and your silver, and you got all these iron, lead, nickel, you know what I mean, silver, and then whatnot, and aluminum. But cobalt is number one. And you're gonna see why it's number one. Cause see, remember we was reading that coal, oil, and gas. We got to get away from that stuff. It's trapping heat inside the atmosphere, and it's trapping greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So now let's turn around and do this, and then it's gonna be a whole slide when they do this. You know what I mean? And you work at a cell phone place, you just don't know how much cobalt is up in there. And actually, is good for you. You know what I mean? Now, I even read a study that the cheaper phones is even worse for you than the expensive phone because the island is more covered up. You know what I mean? But I didn't bring that document out. All right. Now, here go the struggle. We're going to go to the struggle. This is kind of a long article, so we're going to try to push through it. Yeah. Go ahead and read that top part. Both of them, yeah. And this was happening when they figured out cobalt. America dropped the ball, and you're going to see why. America thought they was doing something, but they dropped the ball on cobalt. And now they're looking crazy. 'Cause you know who run the thing? China. Now, how can you go on these people's land and fight over it and look at the people like they ain't nothing? We know command and conquer always been around, but still, and they use the people, and it's gonna be burst effects, people dying, people being moved around, all because of this. We gotta leave this oil and energy because of the climate change. And now we gotta go to cleaner gases, and now it's going to cobalt. Now it's gonna tear up everything, move people out, kill people, do this, and now we got an excuse to make ourselves billions. That's what it's all about. It's about money and having power, right? Go ahead, we're gonna read that.
A power struggle over cobalt rattles the clean energy revolution.
Yeah.
The quest for Congo's cobalt, which is vital for electric vehicles and worldwide push against climate change.
Why don't you go over there to Europe and get some cobalt?
They can't.
They going over there to the they call the motherland, right? Go ahead.
It's caught in an international cycle of exploitation, greed, and gamemanship.
Greed and gamemanship. Go ahead.
Yeah, skip down this.
Yeah. We read up.
Kizanfu, Democratic Republic of Congo.
This what he say.
Just up a red dirt road across an expanse of tall dew-soaked weeds, bulldozers are hollowing out a yawning new canyon that is central to the world's urgent race against global warming.
He said, I looked up and I seen bulldozers coming. Go ahead.
For more than a decade, the vast expanse of untouched land was controlled by American companies.
Hold on, America had it at first,
Yeah.
but see, they weren't digging for cobalt. Now they finna be looking crazy. Go ahead.
Now, a Chinese mining conglomerate has bought it and racing to retrieve its buried treasure. Millions of tons of cobalt.
Okay, so America sold, the Chinese took it over, and now they look at the treasure and say, man, there's a lot of cobalt here. But America, they wasn't really thinking about that, was
No.
it? Go ahead.
In 73, Kayahaya Manga has lived there long enough to predict the path ahead. Once the blasting started, the walls of mud brick homes would crack. Chemicals would seep into the rivers where women do laundry.
See, and Kala Manga, he knew this. He called it from the beginning. He was like, man, I already know what's going to happen. The Americans sold it to China. China finna come over and get this rock. Go ahead.
And laundry and dishes while worrying about hippo attacks. Soon a manager from the mine will announce that everyone needs to be relocated.
He said once the bulldozers come in, and then people doing this laundry and then dishes and stuff all being polluted, then they gonna he just telling you that what's gonna happen. And he said, I already seen this happen before, and then they gonna come in and say y'all gotta be relocated. Because America that sold us this, it's cobalt time. We don't care how you feel, we finna get paid. Go ahead.
We know our ground is rich,
Yeah.
said Mr. Manjai, a village chief who also knows residents will share little of the mine's wealth.
Yeah.
The wooded stretch of Southeast Democratic Republic Congo, called Kizanfu, holds one of the largest and purest untapped reserves of cobalt in the world.
The largest untapped reserve of cobalt in the world. And China, sometimes they knew this. I don't know why America didn't know it, but I don't care about now one of them. So it's the people that's going to be sitting there looking crazy. Yeah, suffering from the situation. Go ahead.
The great metal, typically extracted from copper deposits, has historically been secondary interest to miners. But demand is set to explode worldwide because it is used in electric car batteries,
Yeah.
helping them run longer without a charge.
Yeah, go ahead.
Outside of discovering and exploiting the natural resources of the impoverished Central African countries are following a tired colonial area pattern. The United States turned to Congo for uranium to help build a bomb dropped on Hiroshima.
That's why they was there. Go ahead.
And Nagasaki.
Yeah.
And then spent decades and billions of dollars seeking to protect its mining interests here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now with more than 2/3 of the world's cobalt production coming from the Congo,
2/3?
Yeah.
That's pretty much all of it. Go ahead.
the country is once again taking center stage, and a major automakers commit to battling climate change by transitioning from gasoline burning vehicles to battery powered ones.
That's global warming, right? That's climate change. We got to leave it all alone. Now we over here getting this cobalt. Now let's get paid off this. Now we can tell the people it's for global warming. You know, so we have an excuse to get what we need to get. Go ahead.
The new automobiles rely on a host of minerals and metals often not abundant in the United States or the oil-rich Middle East, which sustained the last energy era. But the quest for Congo's cobalt has demonstrated how the clean energy revolution meant to save the planet from perilously warming temperatures in the age of enlightened self-interest is caught in a familiar cycle of exploitation.
So they said it's previously warm in temperatures in the age of the enlightened self-interest. So they trying to say it's warming now. So we got to go on and do this, get this cobalt out the ground, do this, leave that oil and all that, because the temperature's warming. Go ahead.
Greed and gamesmanship that often puts narrow national aspiration above all else. An investigation by the New York Times.
The New York Times was investigating and said, "Oh, this is greed. It ain't got nothing to do with global warming."
Right.
You know what I mean? So go ahead, we're gonna keep reading this article. Go ahead.
The Times dispatched reporters across 3 continents drawn into
The competition for cobalt. Now go check this out. Go ahead.
a relative obscure new material that along with lithium, nickel, and graphite had gained exceptional value in a world trying to set fossil fuels aside.
Yeah, go ahead.
More than 100 interviews and thousands of pages of documents showed the race of cobalt had set off a power struggle in Congo.
Well, this is a race. We finna run everybody over for this cobalt. It's going down. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
A storehouse of these increasingly prized resources and lured foreigners intent on dominating the next epoch in global energy.
See, this is the next step.
Yep.
So now they're using global warming. Let's put that in front, run it in front of people's eyes, have a memorize. It's like the kids look at it, the adults look at it, global warming. It's almost like, some kind of zombie effect. Global warming, cobalt, global warming. So they got it set up for you can be memorized in your mind that, okay, we finna change this thing. And while y'all over here hypnotized with global warming and climate change, we're going to be over here killing everybody and doing a lot of genocide and whatnot to get to this cobalt. Go ahead.
In particular, a rivalry between China and the United States could have far-reaching implications of the shared goal of safeguarding the earth. At least here in Congo.
That's the earth.
Yeah,
and
that's
here
the
in
earth.
Congo. We don't care about nobody else.
Mother
We don't care about them. And scroll up, Josh, to show the pictures. Oh, that picture you got right there. Scroll down and say. Go the other way. Go up. Yeah. Look how the brothers looking. Ain't nobody concerned about them, is it? You know what I mean? Nobody concerned about them, but it's a race. All right, you can go back to the text. It's a race, though. But these brothers sitting back saying, ain't this something? They coming over in our land, getting our stuff. China and America making deals, and we just sitting here. Like we ain't got no purpose here. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
China is so far winning the contest.
Wait, China is what?
So far winning the contest.
Go ahead.
When both the Obama and Trump administration having stood idly by as a company backed by Chinese government bought 2 of the country's largest cobalt deposits over the past 5 years.
They said, what did we do?
Yeah.
We just sold it to China, now they gone. And now everything turning to electric. We talking global warming, so China's sitting back. I don't know, China must have been calculating. They must have been saying, man, look, they finna sell us this land. They already pushing everybody, the whole United Nations pushing global warming. You know what I mean? So let's jump on this, and we're gonna be the forerunners. Go ahead.
As the significance of those purchases become clear, China and the United States have entered a new great game of sorts.
Yeah, go ahead.
This past week, during a visit promoting electric vehicles at a General Motors factory in Detroit, President Biden acknowledged the United States had lost some ground.
They lost some ground. We just sold to China. Go ahead.
We risk losing our edge as a nation, and China and the rest of the world are catching up, he said.
Yeah.
We were about to turn that around in a big, big way.
So they say, in a big, big way. This ain't got nothing to do with no global warming. It's about power. You know what I mean? It ain't got nothing to do with none of that. It's just about power. Now, look at this graphic up top. Go ahead and read that little section right here, man. Read this little section there. Can you see that? You may need this one back. This is better.
A power struggle over cobalt ratified the clean energy revolution, New York Times.
And now, read this right here.
China dominates the refining and processing of key metals.
What they dominate? Copper?
Yeah. Copper.
Yeah.
Nickel.
Yeah.
Cobalt.
Cobalt is 60%.
Yeah.
They got 60% going right here. You know what I mean? China's dominating the whole field. But America dropped the ball. But they say in a big, big way, but they gonna come back. No, see, they fighting over, so our prices is rising, even in chicken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Prices rising everywhere. They trying to just stay afloat. Lithium and the rare earths, over 80%. You know what I mean? Well, cobalt is over 60-some%. That's sad right there. Go ahead, start reading it in June.
In June, just 6 months after the sale, the Biden administration warned China might use its growing dominance of cobalt to disrupt the American push towards electric vehicles.
Might? They is. Go ahead.
By squeezing the U.S. manufacturers. In response, the United States is pressing the access of cobalt supplies from allies, including Australia and Canada, according to a national security official with the knowledge of the matter.
Man, we got to keep up with China, man. Keep pushing that climate change thing. We got to figure out how to get that cobalt and some of these raw materials in the earth. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
American automakers like Ford, General Motors, and Tesla buy cobalt batteries components from suppliers that depend in part on Chinese-owned mines in Congo.
Chinese-owned mines in Congo.
Yeah.
So it's Chinese Congo. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? I guess that's how you can say it. Go ahead.
A Tesla long-range vehicle requires about 10 pounds of cobalt, more than 400 times the amount in a cell phone.
Man, you killing me.
Yes.
So Tesla is linked with these boys, ain't he?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Forget the people. We don't care. Go jump in there and get it with the mom. Little boy don't have the proper PPE on. We're going to read that, you know what I'm saying? He ain't got the proper protective equipment on. So they just jumping there getting all these birth defects and everything because they're hungry. So you going to go do what you got to do to feed the family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they don't care because it's a race. It's a power struggle. You know what I mean? America's losing. China's on top of it. Go ahead and read that bottom part.
Daily rioting in July. Hold on, let me start.
Yeah, go ahead.
Already tensions over minerals and metals are rattling the electric vehicle market.
Yeah, that's a race. Go ahead.
Daily rioting in July near the port in South Africa, where much of Congo's cobalt is exported to China and elsewhere, caused a global jump in the metals prices, a surge that only worsened through the rest of the year.
Worsened through the rest of the year. And we don't get to see what the effects is. But right now, we're just looking at their riches. All right, go ahead.
These Chinese, let me start at the top. A power struggle over cobalt rattles the clean energy revolution. Okay, that's the
same thing. Yeah. Go ahead.
These Chinese companies have received at least $12 billion in loans and other financing from state-backed institutions that are likely to have drawn billions more.
And their loans is from their own country. It ain't from getting it from another country. Go ahead.
In fact, the 5 biggest Chinese mining companies in Congo had lines of credit from state-backed banks that total $124 billion, according to the documents reviewed by the Times, even though one of them, China, Molybdenum, described itself as a pure business entity traded on the stock exchange. China's goal is to control the global supply chain from the metals in the ground.
They already doing that. Go ahead.
To the batteries themselves.
Yep.
No matter where the vehicles are made.
China said, it don't matter where you make this, we're going to have an impact on that. Because we running this cobalt industry. Y'all done dropped the ball when y'all sold it to us. Go ahead.
The approaching par echoes Henry Ford's investment in Amazonian rubber plantation as the auto industry turned to mass production in the early 20th century.
$124 billion. And you know, it was 3 other guys that's in on it. And I think it's Biden's son. What's his name? Some Biden, Bonner, or whatever his name is.
Well, his name.
They denied. He said, what's his name? Hunter Biden.
Yeah,
and then it was 2 more Americans.
Yeah,
it's fuck on in this article, but I ain't had time to read it all. They would say, hey, we ain't got nothing to do with it.
In Ukraine.
No, wait, we ain't got nothing to do with it. They all in on it, right? All right, because see, it's going to be bad results being in on this. We'll go to the last page, just another section, then we'll be done with the struggle of the cobalt. Go ahead.
In Congo, the company had its own struggles as it moved to build Tinkingi for grooming, displacing more than 1,500 residents.
1,500 residents. When they came with them tractors, had to be displaced. Now, you're already poor. You barely got a shack. You know what I mean? You got to get out of there. It's just that simple. Go ahead.
In a haphazard process. But once the mine opened,
Here go the lie. Go ahead.
it gained an unusual amount of respect for its commitment to worker safety.
Now, was it unusual or was it a respect when you moved me out my house? Or when that baby got that clip in her mouth, you know, because due to the material.
Right.
Ain't nobody respecting this thing. It's just the ones that's getting paid good that's on the top is respecting it. Go ahead.
Both among local officials and U.S. diplomats.
Oh, that's where it's respected at.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ones who getting all the money.
The ones who getting all the money. So with that being said, we're gonna go to we started a little late.
Video?
Yeah, I think we just skipped that cobalt population birth defect because it's on the video. It was just another article we was gonna read about the defects of the cliffs and all that's what's happening to the children through this cobalt. You know what I mean? Because they rushing to do this cobalt because they said it's global warming. So we got to leave the gases and the oils. And, you know, the greenhouse gases just going up in the atmosphere and clogging up everything. So now we got to get to these materials, metals and whatnot, to leave, to get global warming established. You know what I mean? To get a start on it. But that's just an escape because we just read it was what, 14 billion that they was making? I want to quote, let me go back to that. 124 billion in Congo alone that they get paid off of. You know what I mean? But they ain't gonna tell you about the kids, and they did a study on how they have to go down. You know what I mean? And how people dying, and how people 1,500 homes being replaced. They ain't gonna tell you these small stories on the side. They just gonna bring you that bad Tesla outside that's electric operated. You know what I mean? And see, that's better for global warming. You know what I mean? So now it's a struggle. They fight. You know what I mean? So, we're going to watch this video. We're going to go and put up the video, Josh, and we're going to skip that article I just showed for time's sake. But this video pretty much got, yeah. I think it's going to play pretty good. Go ahead.
Climate action is the new buzzword, and why wouldn't it be? One world is all we have, and our world is at risk. Countries, corporates, and citizens claim to be doing all they can to save the planet from climate change. Green energy is being floated as one of the top solutions. We are replacing coal with hydropower, fossil fuels with solar energy, petrol and diesel cars with electric vehicles. EVs are being pitched as cleaner, greener, and sustainable. But are they? What's clean for the environment may not really be clean. Hidden beneath the shiny exteriors of an EV is a story of blood batteries. These cars drive human rights violations, extreme poverty, and child labor. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. An electric car runs on battery, you know that. But do you know what these batteries are made of? Rare metals like lithium and cobalt. Cobalt gives the battery stability and allows it to operate safely. It's a bluish grey colored metal. It is found in the Earth's crust, or what we call crustal rocks. Cobalt has several uses, like in jet turbine generators, tool materials, pigments, and smartphone batteries. But its major use is in lithium-ion batteries. Half of the cobalt produced goes into electric cars. We're talking about 4 to 30 kilos of cobalt per battery. This metal is found all over the world, like in Australia, Canada, China, Cuba, South Africa, the United States, the Philippines. But 70% of the total supply comes from one country, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's zoom into this country. DR Congo is the second largest country in Africa. Its GDP is around $49 billion. Congo is synonymous with conflict, poverty, and corruption. Beneath the country's red earth is the world's largest deposit of cobalt. 92 million people live here. Some 2 million depend on cobalt production. They are called negociants. Cobalt mining in Congo is divided into two categories: industrial or large-scale mining and artisanal or small-scale mining. What's the difference between the two? Artisanal mines are unregulated. Labor laws do not apply here. Neither do safety protocols. These mines produce 20 to 30% of Congo's cobalt. Some 200,000 miners work in these mines. At least 40,000 of them are children, some as young as 6. These children flirt with death daily. They enter vertical tunnels. Most of them are too narrow for adults to enter. Inside, it's like a furnace. The children dig for cobalt under inhuman conditions. Sometimes they have shovels, but mostly they dig with their bare hands. They have no masks, no gloves, no work clothes, and sometimes just 20 minutes worth of oxygen. But these young children go on for hours. After digging, they crush the rocks. They wash them and carry their finds to the market to find a buyer. How much do these children make? Sometimes as little as $1. Cobalt is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It is estimated to be worth $13.63 billion by 2027. But this money never reaches the child who is spotting and extracting the metal. In poverty-stricken Congo, even $1 is worth risking one's life. Many die trying to make this money. ABC recently profiled a woman who lost her son to a mine-related accident. The boy was 13 years old. He told his mother he was going to the market to buy coal for her so that she could cook. Instead, the boy went to a cobalt mine to try and earn an extra buck for the house. The mine embankment collapsed. The 13-year-old never returned home. Between 2014 and 2015, at least 80 artisanal miners died in Congo. In 2019, an accident killed 43 miners. According to one estimate, 2,000 illegal miners die in Congo every year. Many suffer permanent lung damage, skin infection, and life-changing injuries. In 2019, some families from Congo filed a lawsuit. They named companies like Tesla, accused them of aiding and abetting in the death and injury of children. The lawsuit spoke about a child. He was referred to as John Doe 1. John was working as a human mule since the age of 9. He would carry bags after bags of cobalt just for $0.75 a day. One day, John fell into a tunnel. Fellow workers dragged him out of it, but they left John alone on the ground. When the child's parents found out about the accident, they rushed to the mining site. It was too late. John was paralyzed. Doctors say he will never be able to walk again. Why do children work in these high-risk mines? Because of poverty and the hope to get out of it. Families in Congo are betting big on cobalt. It's like their crypto, their chance to make it big. The metal's demand has tripled in the last decade. It is expected to double again by 2035. The demand is being driven by electric vehicles. Today, there are more than 6.5 million EVs on the road. By 2040, that number will touch 66 million. So that's 66 million multiplied by 30 kilos of cobalt. Do the math. By 2050, the demand for cobalt production is expected to increase 585%. Congo's families want to ride this wave and tide over poverty. Sending their children to the mines is not a choice for them, but necessity. These children end up working as artisanal miners or informal workers. They're not employed by any company, but several companies line up to buy their finds. You see, it is cheaper to buy cobalt from a child than a regulated mine. And who understands business better than China? Most of these companies dealing in blood batteries are from China. It dominates the global supply chain of cobalt. China owns up to 50% of the metal's production. It controls around 80% of cobalt's refining. In the last 15 years, Chinese companies have bought out North American and European companies mining in Congo. Today, Chinese firms own 15 out of the 19 industrial mines in this country. In exchange for Congo's cobalt, China has promised the country billions in investment in the form of infrastructure, schools, and roads. Now, Congo is another example of how stories featuring China never end well. Today, China is leaking blood cobalt into the supply chain of electric vehicles. Chinese companies are buying cobalt from children, encouraging them to participate in the trade of blood batteries. One of the largest cobalt processors in Congo is a company called CDM, or Congo Dongfang Mining. It is a subsidiary of Zhejiang Huayu Cobalt, a Chinese company, of course. Huayu supplies cobalt to electric car makers like Volkswagen. 40% of Huayu's cobalt comes from Congo. In 2016, the Chinese company was called out by an NGO. It was branded a benefactor of child labor. Huayu pledged to clean up its act. But did anything change on the ground? Reports raise serious doubts. This is one part of the story. There is blood in China's large-scale mines too. There, workers are abused, discriminated, beaten, and made to work without contracts and sufficient ration. One worker told the media, and I'm quoting, "If a worker dies, the Chinese don't report it to the government. They bury the person, hiding the corpse, and bribe the family to keep quiet." That's your electric car killing people even before it hits the road. Did you sign up for this? The world's biggest car makers are complicit in these crimes. I'm talking about the likes of Tesla, Volvo, Renault, Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen. They all source cobalt from Chinese mines in Congo. Sure, they claim to have a zero-tolerance policy when it comes to child labor, but they too know that there is no way to fully map their supply chains. Back in Congo, President Felix Tshisekedi has pledged to act. In 2019, he established a state-run company to focus on health and human rights. But that hardly helps when Congolese officials are accused of overseeing child labor. In 2020, Tesla announced it would start using cobalt-free lithium-ion batteries in its electric vehicles, but the company followed up the announcement with a deal with Glencore. It's a cobalt mining company, and this deal was for 6,000 tons of cobalt a year. 6,000 tons a year. Doesn't add up, does it? Much like the claim of electric cars being clean, these cars run on dirty energy, on blood batteries. And this is not climate solution. This is human rights abuse. And the two cannot coexist. Climate solution is not supposed to be at the expense of human lives. Long story short, electric vehicles have miles to go before they can claim to be clean.
This is a video I want you to see. They even know there ain't no climate change. And how much blood being spilled. How much blood being spilled to make this cold. And then also it just said that you don't have to have cobalt in these cars. It can be cobalt free. So I know they can make a battery without cobalt. Without, pushing people, making people move, 1,500 homes displaced and whatnot. So that would just, show you the breakdown on their greed and how greedy they are. Now, we're going to go see what the Lord said about this. Just through the word of God. We're going to always keep that in play. We're going to go to Proverbs, keeping it moving. Proverbs 1. And 15. Proverbs 1 and 15. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
My son, walk not thou in the way within, refrain thy foot from their path.
Don't go to the same way they going. Go ahead.
For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed
They
blood.
don't shed blood. Go ahead.
Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird.
Yeah. They say any bird. It don't matter who you look like and who you is. They just said China was killing their own people, wasn't it? Go ahead.
And they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk probably for their own lives.
Yeah, go ahead.
So are the ways of every one that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof.
So are the way of everyone that's greedy to gain. And that's what's happening. It's about, okay, let's put the climate change up. It says climate change. So now we got this thing racing to see who got the most electric cars on the street. And then plus a lot of other things too. You know what I mean? It's just cars is one of the main sources of cobalt. So with that being said, we're going to go to Ezekiel 22. We know they're greedy. They shed blood and then it's going to increase. They said about a year or such and such, they're going to have a lot more happen. Ezekiel 22 and verse 9. Then we're going to skip down to 12 and read through 14. But Ezekiel 22 and 9. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
In thee are men that carry tails to shed blood.
Yeah.
And in thee they eat upon the mountains.
They eat upon the mountains. Go ahead.
In the midst of thee they commit lewdness.
And they commit lewdness. Go ahead. Let's jump down to 12. Go ahead.
And thee have they taken gifts to shed blood.
Yeah, they bargain with one another and pass information to one another. Go ahead.
Thou hast taken usury and increase.
Yeah.
And thou hast greedily gained of thy neighbors by extortion.
Yeah, they just took over the land, ain't it? They bought it from America. Hold up, this ain't none of y'all land.
Right.
But that's what they did. Go ahead.
It has forgotten me, said the Lord.
But ain't nobody
Lord.
mentioning the Lord.
Right.
You know what I mean? They mentioning climate change.
Okay.
All right, but go ahead.
Behold, therefore I have smitten my hand at thy dishonest gain,
Yeah.
which thou hast made at thy blood, which had been in the midst of thee.
Yeah.
Can thine heart endure, or can thine hands be strong in the day that I shall deal with thee?
Lord, what you gonna do when I come?
Yeah.
You gonna endure? Is your hand gonna be strong? It's strong now, ain't it?
Right.
You know when you beating down on people and doing this for cobalt and whatnot and other metals. You know what I'm saying? But when I come, will your hand be still strong? Go ahead.
I, the Lord, have spoken it,
Yeah.
and will do it.
We'll do it, and you better believe He gonna do it. All right, let's go to Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2, in front of Nahum and before Zephaniah. Habakkuk 2 and 9. Because we know they build every place they build. They build America on blood, didn't they? And that's what they do. And now they get tired of the oil and the gases. They want to go pump some more resources. Yep. So now they got to give the America, or not America, but mankind an excuse why they doing it. That way too much people won't be saying this and that. Now they can go after this. And then tear up the world like that. How's that? Go ahead.
Woe to him that coveted and evil coveted to his house.
Yeah.
That he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy soul.
Cutting off many people and has sinned against thy soul. Go ahead.
For the stone shall cry out of the wall, and the beam of the timber shall answer.
Yeah.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by iniquity.
Woe to him that build a town on blood and establish a city by iniquity. Go ahead.
Behold, is it not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity?
Go ahead.
For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea.
The Lord said, but yeah, it's going to be filled with my knowledge though. But right now it ain't. But it will be when I get here. So for now, they're going to push their little agenda on global warming and do what they do. But when I get there, their hands going to be strong enough to stop it. Of course not. Where your scientist at now, Mr. Man? You know what I mean? What a man that's sitting up on a podium saying, I ain't going to say no names, but I'll tell you his last name, Gore. You know, they pushed it, you know, in the UN, they up in there pushing all this stuff about global warming. And, you know, I understand trying to reserve a forest or, you know, don't pollute. You know what I mean? I can understand, you know, pushing that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But it ain't gonna help. Man ain't gonna do what he do. You know what I'm saying? All right, where we at now? We finna go to unclean animals has a purpose. Now, you would think, why would I bringing up unclean food, not the food, but just unclean animals to the plate? Because unclean animals got a purpose, right?
Right.
Because what they doing is they telling you about climate change, but the very same ones that's pushing climate change is fishing in the waters, eating all this unclean animals. So now they done fished in the waters and got all this unclean animals, right, out of the water. Now it's kind of thin in the waters now. Now they got to go to farms. So now they got crawfish farms and catfish farms because they didn't ate them all up. They didn't ate up all the unclean stuff. So now they go get some farms to try to keep up with mass production. And see, now they got a job to do in the water. And I got to, you know, we got this, I'm going to show you what their job is. Even if they feed other animals. They got a job to do, and that's going to part of your so-called climate change. That's why the water's doing this. That's why you have sickness in the water, because you eating it all up. Yep. Now it can't filter itself. You know what I mean? So that's why I brought unclean animals has a purpose. Because they got a purpose of being everything being equal, being, you know, level. You know what I mean? Or in its bounds. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to read the definition. It ain't a definition about this. We're gonna read about sea crabs. What's the purpose of a sea crab? You ask yourself, what does sea crab do? You know what I mean? So go ahead and read that, man.
Sea crab. They are usually scavengers.
They scavengers. They just bounce around, just eating anything, like a buzzard up here on the land, right? Go ahead.
Feeding on dead animals.
Yeah.
And plant matter.
Yeah.
But will also graze seaweeds and prey on small animals when they can.
So they cleaning up. So it's like buzzards up here, flies. Lay maggots, eat up the carcass, that way it won't sit there and rot all day. Everybody got a purpose here. You know what I mean? But you just can't eat it up. When you eat it all up, then we're going to have a problem. Now you're going to farms. Now you got to mass produce it. You know what I mean? Because you tearing up everything. Go ahead to the slugs and snails, man. They call this escargot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a delicacy. Yeah. You got to have paper to eat this. You know what I mean? Let me borrow about 30,000 to get that escargot, brother. You know what I'm saying? I want to get the female on when I'm trying to show, but nah, y'all all going down. Because you messing up the atmosphere, as you call it, or the climate, as you call it, but the Lord is steady correcting it. Go ahead, brother Matt.
Slugs and snails are very important.
Yeah.
They provide food for all sorts of mammals.
Yeah, that's what they do. So now we know the job of a slug and a snail. What do he do? He provides food for all sorts of mammals. Go ahead. Birds.
Slow worms.
Yeah, they real slow, but they can get that. You can catch that snail. Yeah. Go ahead.
Earthworms.
Yeah.
Insects.
Yeah.
And they are part of the natural balance.
Yeah.
Upset that balance by removing them, and we can do a lot of harm.
We can do a lot of harm.
Thrushes, in particular, thrive on them.
But they eating it up.
Yep.
They eating up everything.
Upsetting the balance.
Yeah, but they don't know they got something to do with they so-called. They call global warming, but the Lord is steady correcting the waters. And we're going to see He's going to correct the waters real good later on in His temple. It's going to be pure water. You know, but just like He corrected the water when He turned the sea to blood, He had to correct it. But man is eating up everything. Sea crabs, they eat lobsters. Let's see what the crayfish, man. A crayfish is the same thing as a crawfish family, right? Go ahead. And then you remember how they crawfish big in Texas. They had them crawfish boils, and they had that fish, and I done seen them suck the neck up.
Yes.
And then they throw it down, they slap each other's hand, and go ahead, man.
Crayfish, crawdad, crawfish, yabbit, freshwater lobster.
That's what they call it.
And mud bug all refer to the same
animal. Go ahead.
Crayfish eat just about everything.
They like the sea crab. They're scavengers, ain't they? Go ahead.
From plants, insects, leaf litter, to small fish. Crayfish even occasionally cannibalize one another.
They eat each other. Right?
Teach, man.
But see, these right here is just like the slug and the snail. See, the crayfish is here not to be eaten, but it's to be for food for other animals.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So go ahead and read that. Crayfish.
Crayfish even occasionally cannibalize one another. Crayfish are very important prey items in the stream ecosystem and are the primary food source for many animals, including fish, amphibians, reptiles, and birds.
That's what they're there for. Everything the Lord do has a purpose.
That's right.
Everything ain't good to be eaten. You know what I mean? Not for human consumption anyway. You know what I mean? But they have a purpose here, right? So with that being said, we're going to go hit some scripture. And we're going to see how the Lord going to clean up this water in His temple. Because man done ate up everything out the water. He got farms now. Everything ate up. You know what I mean? Walk around, the shark got 3 heads. Because they ain't nothing being filtered right. Right? All right. Let's go to Psalm 46. We're going to get back to that unclean list. We'll get a little scripture. We can't go too deep without the scripture.
You be like the scientists, huh?
Yeah, be like the scientists. And then they took science and made it scientists. Took the Jew and made it Jewish. You know what I mean? All right, but Psalm 46. Let me get there. I can pass about 100 pages in one turn. Psalms 46 and 1. Go ahead.
God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea.
Yeah, we know something rising and something falling, the earth be moved, and stuff, cliffs falling off in the waters and whatnot. Go ahead.
Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof.
There's always something going on. It ain't your global warming. Turn back to the Lord and put fear in this God. Go ahead.
There's a river.
Yeah, there's a river.
The streams whereof shall make glad the city of God.
But these streams thereof going to make glad the city of God. Go ahead, brother.
The holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High.
This is going to be the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. We're going to go look at it, right? All right, let's go look at it in Revelation 22 and 1. We're going to get a sneak peek of this thing. I'm going to show you some how the Lord clean up this water. But you ain't going to be able to do nothing with this water. And then He going to have other water that you already contaminated, like He got all that water together and said, nah, right there. There ain't nothing going to grow up in that water. Because y'all already ate it up. Y'all ate up everything. Revelations 22. I mean, they ate up everything. It's just so bad, they got to go to the farms now. What did it say? Revelation 22 and 1? Go ahead, brother.
And He showed me a pure river.
A pure river. Go ahead.
A water of life.
Yeah.
Clear as crystal.
Clear as crystal. Go ahead.
Proceeding out of the throne of God and the Lamb.
Proceeding out of the throne of God and the Lamb. Now, let's go get further detail in this through a precept through Ezekiel 47. Now, what is this clear water? Now, we know they contaminate this water today. Then they're going to try to say some global warming, but the same very ones that's saying global warming is the ones that's eating up everything in the water. They talking about some global warming. Yeah, let's talk about the Lord's dietary law for once. Ezekiel 47. Yeah, took it and got farms and everything because they didn't ate up everything. Ezekiel 47 and 1. Go ahead.
Afterward, he brought me again into the door of the house.
That's this river I'm telling y'all about, that good clean water. Go ahead.
And behold, waters issued out from under the threshold of the house eastward.
Yeah.
For the forefront of the house stood toward the east.
Yeah.
And the waters came down from under the right side of the house.
Well, this is bad water. Check this out. Go ahead.
At the south side of the altar.
Yeah, go ahead.
Then brought he me out of the way of the gate northward, and led me about the way without unto the other gate by the way that looketh eastward.
Yeah.
And behold, there ran out of the water, on the right side.
Ezekiel just giving you this vision how this water going to be running out different ways. Go ahead.
And when the man that had the line in his hand went forth eastward, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the water. The water was to the ankle.
Yeah, go ahead.
Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through the water, and the water was to the knees.
Yeah.
Again, he measured 1,000 and brought me through the water. The water was to the loins.
So different parts, different levels, ain't it? Go ahead.
Sir. Afterward, he measured 1,000, and it was a river
What?
that I could not pass over.
Yeah, okay, now you can't pass over this one. He let you go to the ankles, to the knee, and to the loins, didn't he? And now this river right here that you're going by, you can't pass over this. Go ahead.
For the waters that were risen, waters to swim in, a river that could not be passed over.
Could not be passed over. Go ahead.
And he said unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen this?
No, bring your boats on this one. You can't.
Okay.
Throw your nets on here. You can't. This ain't gonna happen. You ain't finna pollute this water up. Go ahead.
Then he brought me and caused me to return to the brink of the river. Now when I had returned, behold, at the bank of the river were very many trees, on the one side and on the other side. Then said he unto me, These waters issue out towards the east country, and go down into the
They
desert,
go down to the desert. You just grab this water and just drink it. Go ahead.
and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea,
Yeah.
the water shall be
The
healed.
water shall be healed. Because they didn't pollute it all up.
That's right.
You know what I mean? They done took out everything that cleansed the water, that filters the water, and they eat it all. They even eating that seaweed up.
Yeah,
I mean, you just eating everything. You know what I mean? You can put your hands on. And then they got throw a little fancy name behind it and charge you about $1,000 a plate. I said, Lord, put that there for a reason, man. Everything got a purpose, man. Go ahead, bro.
And it shall come to pass
Yeah.
that everything that liveth, which moveth, whithersoever the river shall come, shall live.
Everything that moves shall live. This is good water. Go ahead.
And there shall be a very great multitude of fish,
Fish, what's up?
because these waters shall come thither.
Yeah, well, check this out. Go
For they
ahead.
shall be healed, and everything shall live whither the river cometh.
Everything shall live. You know what I mean? And then you can go to, where we at now?
In verse
I got you reading all the way down?
In verse 10.
Yeah, okay, go
Reading
ahead.
all the
Yeah,
way
yeah.
down to 13.
Yeah, I want that. Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 10. And it shall come to pass that the fishers shall stand upon it from Engedi.
Yeah, these is fishermen. You think they're going to be getting it unclean? Oh, no. That ain't happening in this river. Go ahead.
Even unto Enegla.
Yeah.
Eneglaim. They shall be a place, there shall be a place to spread forth nets.
Yeah.
Their fish shall be according to their kind.
Yeah.
And the fish of the great sea exceeding many.
And the Lord said to clean after his kind, ain't it?
That's right.
And his kind is what? Skin, fins and scales, ain't it?
Right.
That's what's going to be clean. You ain't going to get no smooth bodies out the water, none that have like clampers on it like lobster. You ain't going to get none of that out of there. Go ahead.
But the miry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed.
Yeah.
They shall be given to the south.
Yeah, the Lord said, I'm going to throw that over there.
Yeah.
Now go eat that. You can't. You know what I mean? You're going to die yourself.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side shall grow all trees for meat,
Yeah.
whose leaf shall not fade,
Yeah.
neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed.
Hold up now. This is the Most High. Ain't got nothing to do with your global warming. But you done messed it up, so now I got to go correct everything. Go ahead.
It shall bring forth new fruit
Yeah.
according to his months,
Yeah.
because their waters they issue out of the sanctuary,
Yeah.
and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. Thus saith the Lord God, this shall be the border whereby you shall inherit the land according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Joseph shall have 2
Now,
portions.
you check this out. Therefore shall it be meat, and the leaf shall be, therefore be medicine. Everything going to be natural.
Right.
Why? Because you didn't mess it up by trying to say global warming, but see, you didn't go in there and eat everything that has a purpose. Now everything is growing natural. Now we're finna go show you now that how the swine and everything, he goes to root up stuff, and when he root up something grow there.
No,
Now, if they got you hating a swine, oh, I can't stand that pig. No, ain't nothing wrong with a pig. You can have a pet pig. Just don't eat the thing. Just don't eat it. That's all you got to do. Do not eat the pig. Now, we're going to go back to the unclean animal has a purpose. We'll throw that back up to the subject. All right. Now, we done seen the waters, how the Lord going to heal the waters. And this all got to do with their so-called climate change, because, see, they're going to tell you about their climate change. We tell them about their so-called climate change. Thus say the Lord, and what they doing in the waters and everything, eating up everything. You know what I mean? But they ain't talking about that. You stop taking all that escargot and all that to the grocery store. All that beef bacon everywhere. I go to the sauce and everything got it say beef sausage, but it got a pork skin casing on it. Food of the people. Everything got pork in it. You know what I mean? But ain't nothing wrong with the pig, just don't eat it. So we're gonna go to what's the definition of what the mice do in the world, man? What are their purpose?
Mice, birds.
Yeah.
Birds of prey such as eagles, hawks, owls, sea mice as a standard fail to be sought after and snared.
Now you ask yourself, what's the purpose of a mouse? He food.
That's right.
That's all he is. He's like the slug and the snail and the crayfish or the crawfish. Crayfish or the crawfish. That's all he is. He's food. Go ahead.
Larger lizards are known to eat mice.
Yeah.
But it's primarily snakes that look for mice as their main source of nutrition.
So it's the main source of nutrition for a snake. That's why mouses are here. But they got mouse soup and all that, don't they? The Lord told you in Isaiah 66, the ones that eat the mouse, He's going to consume together, says the Lord. The ones that eat the swine and the mouse. But they eat mice. They eating up everything. Everything they get their hands on. Probably they ain't eating skunk and buzzard. You know, making some kind of cuisine. And, you know, you watch the wildlife shows, they be doing that. They got to rush to the hospital later on behind the scene. All right, let's see what the pig. We're going to see what the pig do now. When I researched this, it just kept telling me food. You know, bacon, this. But I went deep, and they had this article, and it was a PDF ready file. But I had to go past all the stuff that America say pig is for your consumption, especially a domestic pig. Yeah. I'm going back to the natural things of a wild pig or a wild boar. You know what I mean? And but they got a job to do, and their purpose here is not to be eaten. Now, other animals can eat them like tigers and whatever that's in that area, but they root up, so they're like a plow. They keep, you know, I was watching this History Channel last night, and this little mouse got this whole, mouse has got this, same mouse as food, got this whole forest looking beautiful. And they do it by just walking around eating seeds, and they eating this like fruit, and they drop the seed. So these mouses dropping the seed all over the forest, and they the one got this forest looking beautiful. Because they drop the seed and it grows again. And you know what I mean? So that's what the pig do. He roots. He love to go down into the ground and root up stuff. You know what I mean? So when he does that, it's going to be some research that I found on saying, okay, the pig is here for a reason. So go ahead and read what the pig do, man.
Pigs were domesticated in China around 4,900 BC.
They were domesticated, meaning they was brought into your homes. You know what I mean? They wasn't wild no more. You know what? Go ahead.
Although some experts claim 7,000 to 6,000 BC in Western Asia.
So you got two, where the pig is originally from is Asia and Europe. They the ones bringing things today, ain't they? Mm-hmm. Who fighting over cobalt? Yep. You know what I mean? And it's still a Gentile dynasty. Go ahead.
And were being raised in Europe by 1500 BC.
Yeah.
The Romans improved pig breeding.
Oh, the Romans improved the pig breeding. Go ahead.
And spread pork production throughout their empire.
And they spread it throughout the empire. I don't care what you looking like. You come over here as a slave, they threw you to what?
All roads lead to Rome.
The chitlins, the pig feet. That's right. And the black folks took that. You know, we under the curse. So, you know, the Israelites took that and they made some gumbo out of it. They made some pig feet. They made it taste good. They was in survival mode. Yeah. But see, we was so much under the curse of the Lord, you know. The Lord said, hey, you ain't gonna know nothing about this being clean and unclean. Because see, y'all gonna go over there, y'all gonna serve y'all enemies, y'all gonna worship wood and stone. And so what they did, they brought that over here. And they don't know about the potato wedgie too. The potato wedge is built. When you go to the store and see a potato wedge, it's a slave food. Because it's to keep you going. You know what I mean? They cut the wedges up and they fried them and they gave you back, you know, what you need to have in your body. So the potato wedge is a slave food. That's what it was built for. Do the research on it. You know what I mean? All right, they gave you back the protein you needed in your body and whatnot. All right, so imagine did that. You know, we know Europe did cut it up and made it a delicacy. And gave you the parts, chitlins, pig feet. Now, You know, I used to go to different places. You see pickled pig feet. Yeah, you know, we just so. I mean, you can tell we far gone as a people. You know what I mean? That's why we got to turn back to our God. It's a pickled pig feet. It's pink, and it comes in a big old jar. And you'll see people get 2 pickled pig feet. They just be, you know, I mean, the feet of the pig.
Man, I used to eat them things.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Well, I used to eat the chili. Hot sauce it up. I'm talking about Louisiana down. But see, that's what you do. Well, they gave us this, and they have a job to do. So we're going to read this article. It's called, I'll have Matt read the top of that. Can you want this one, brother?
No, bro.
All right, yeah. Because this is a small, I blowed it up then I'll give it to you.
Ain't no my eyes with that,
Man, you know, I got on glass, but
give me some glass.
yeah. Go ahead.
Do changes in soil properties after rooting by wild boars affect understory vegetation in Swiss hardwood forests?
And that's understory vegetation is vegetation that's under the ground, right? This says, does changes in soil properties after rooting by wild boars affect understory vegetation, Swiss hardwood forest? And they did a lot of studies on different places. But we're going to see what the pig's job is. Or is he good to be eaten? Or are they messing up the economy by just doing what they want to do and eat up all the pigs? They can't do their job now. And the wild pigs are sitting in different places for a reason. Go ahead, brother man. We're going to read this. This is a research they had did. Go ahead.
Recovered from small fragmented population.
Yeah.
Wild boars have considerably increased the number in their habitat range in many European countries.
And we know that's where they come from. Go ahead.
During the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
Although several studies have focused on the impact of the wild boar rooting on the selected vegetation properties, little is known about the effects of the entire forest ecosystem.
Yeah.
The main goal of our study was to assess how rooting by boars alter soil and vegetation properties.
And see, this alter soil and vegetation properties. They say, go ahead.
We measured soil chemical and biological properties as well as several vegetation characteristics and number and height of the sapling on the paired-rooted and non-rooted plots in the 6 hardwood forests in Switzerland.
Yeah.
We found that the rooting by wild boars led to significant increases in the mineral soil.
C
Meaning
C just meaning it's being rooted, concentration, and N is non-rooted, right? Go ahead.
Concentration and microbial biomass. C, which could lead to improved growth conditions for plants.
So they concentrating in the ground. So C meaning the concentration, excuse me, and N meaning non-concentration, right? All right, let's go to the next page. Go ahead, man.
Only a few researchers have investigated how rooted habitats of wild boars affect forest soil.
So they want to see how the pig affected soil. Because everybody talk about the pig coming and he's destroying everything. Is he really destroying or helping? And it's going to show you 2 key points is what he's really destroying. Go ahead, brother man.
Concentration, nutrient, cycling, processing, or soil microbial properties.
Yeah, go ahead.
These changes in soil properties could indirectly impact understory vegetation.
They said they can impact this. Go ahead.
And or sapling growth, and wild boar rooting may also directly affect or damage the understory vegetation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Though through seed predation and mechanical damage.
Now, seed predation, that's what they're gonna destroy. Cause so if I got a land and we put the seed down and they come and lift it all up, they're gonna destroy it.
Right.
Now mechanically is next. Whenever I come in and put in all the rows and get ready to put the seeds in by the tractors, they come and destroy everything. That's what they talking about. That's what he destroying. But he ain't destroying, you know, that's the only thing he destroying. So go back and read that little part, man. It says, and the wild boar rooting may also.
Okay. And wild boar rooting may also directly and adversely affect or damage the understory vegetation.
What understory vegetation? Go ahead.
Through seed predation.
Through seed predation.
And mechanical damage.
And mechanical damage. Go ahead.
Several authors have studied how wild boar or feral hog population alter understory plant cover.
And see, the feral hog population, he understory plant cover. They said, hold on, he helping this. Go ahead. They can tell you what.
Plant community structure.
Plant community structure, go ahead.
And plant regeneration and growth potential.
And plant regeneration and growth potential when you see this boy rooting up stuff. That's what he's doing. He ain't to be eaten. He's part of the so-called economy, if you want to call it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he's part of the Lord's plan on keeping everything in bounds and a balance, right? All right, now go to the next one. This is just a little graph. Man, I'm mad. Read the top part, total plant cover. And they got it all, bro. This article real long. I just chose to get a couple things out of it. All right, go ahead and read that, man.
Total plant cover. Measure on rooted and non-rooted folk, pilots, PIs. Is that PIs?
Plots. They're just plots of land.
Yeah, look.
Yeah.
Rooted plots at times.
A 0,
0, 12, and 48 months.
They did a study, 0 to 12 to 48 months. We're going to see what these pigs actually doing. See if they're going to help. And that's what I was telling you about the C and the N. Okay, the C is rooted. So this is 0. It's rooted. They doing this study. This natural. Just sitting there, right? All right. And then after 12 months, they start climbing up because they rooting up everything. They rooting up the earth. 48, it passed the natural. So he got a job to do. Now, I got another study that didn't pass because it wasn't no minerals in the ground. It was some hard ground. You know what I mean? So it don't matter if they went under the understory and rooted it up or not. It wouldn't matter because you can't grow there. So that's why they failed the next category. But this one, and if you read on the side of total plant cover by percentage, 40, 42, it rolls over 20%. And then this is under 20. But when it first started, of course, that's going to be there because it got a starting point. And see, that's just something to go by. That's a study they had. Okay, and we always said that the pigs like the tillers of the ground. Do not eat them. You know what I mean? But I found an article, somebody finally admitting it. The pig has a job to do. So that's the unclean and the clean section of the purpose of animals and what they do, right? So now we finna go get into back into some of this truth. You know what I mean? And we'll see how the Lord breaks this thing down. And I didn't go to the dietary law. So this is about, climate change and how man changes stuff. So we're going to go back to Proverbs 8. We're almost there, people. Just hold tight. Got another about 2 or 3 hours. Not really. Hang tight. I'm trying to make it interesting for you. That way, you won't worry about sleepiness or hungriness. You know what I mean? You don't worry about a good Sabbath day. You know what I mean? Because Israel think ahead and they think what they can be doing. I could be kicked up on the couch, remote control, or I could just be slobbing a bit. We as a people, we human, you know what I mean? 8 and 22. I just said the slide, that's too far.
Oh, you good.
But 8 and 22.
It's the truth.
Proverbs 8 and 22. Go ahead, brother.
The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old.
Yeah.
I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was.
Hold up, he said I was set up before everlasting from the beginning, or ever the earth was. This thing was, before the earth even was here, I set this thing up. So how can a scientist come say this and say that? About what's global warming and what's not global warming. I had this thing set up from the beginning. Go ahead, man.
When there was no depth,
go ahead.
I was brought forth.
Yeah.
When there was no fountain, abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth.
Before all this. This got to be wisdom, ain't it? Right. Go ahead.
While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world.
So how you going to come up and tell what a scientist that's 10% now that there ain't no God exists? Well, he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. Go ahead, brother.
When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass his commandments.
That's the bounds, ain't it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
When he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him, as one brought up with him. And I was daily his delight. Rejoicing always before him.
He said I was there. When all this was going on, but you wasn't there.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth, on his earth. And my delights were with the sons of men.
And you can't even live past 120 while you talking. And you nobody ain't seen 100 in a long time. That's a little old lady or little old man is 102, 105. But that's rare on TV. But these same cats is telling you that there ain't no God, ain't none of them busting the grape over 100. But you know everything. Oh, when he tells you, I've been here. I witnessed this thing before the earth even was, right? That's it? All right, let's go to Jeremiah 10. Took the animals and ate them all up. Tell the Lord he didn't stop the sun. Tell the people on this U.S. regional effect what's going to go down and what's happening. And ain't nobody understanding and giving praise to the Most High. All right? We're going to see about this. Jeremiah 10 and 11. And the masses of the people going for it. That's why I brought to destruction. Because the masses, they're going to stay there to the end. They ain't going nowhere. What you talking is crazy. Go ahead. Jeremiah 10 and 11.
Thus shall you say unto them,
Yeah.
the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens.
Oh yeah, so all the gods you worship and all the signs you got, they don't even perish, ain't they?
Right.
Go ahead.
He had made the earth by his power.
Yeah.
He had established the world by his wisdom.
By his wisdom, go ahead.
And had stretched out the heavens by his discretion.
Yeah, go ahead.
When he uttered his voice, there is a multitude of waters.
That's all they have to do is speak this thing. Go ahead.
And he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth.
Yeah.
He maketh lightnings with rain and bringeth forth the wind out of his trust.
Yeah, and they got them earth chemtrails and all that trying to control the weather patterns. So got these chemicals with these airplanes. We used to look up when we was young. We see a big old cloud going across the sky from a jet. It's experiments. And when they do that, they try to bring different weathers. They so much inside their labs, it's insane. The Lord telling you over and over. See, everybody got a warning in this thing. And he said the book has always been nigh you. That's why I got to take, a certain people to give you the truth. Because they going to just say ain't no God. Or they going to take their gods, which the Lord said their gods going to even be thrown down. All right, where we at, man?
Amos chapter 4.
Amos chapter 4. Yeah. We finna hit them. And we ain't gonna hit them because we being watchmen. We just gonna tell you what thus say the Lord. Because it ain't gonna be on me because I done warned y'all all kind of ways. Amos 4 and 13. It's just coming up. Amos 4 and 13. Go ahead. We're gonna see who formed this thing.
For lo, he that formeth the mountains, and created the wind, and declared unto man what is his thought, that maketh the morning darkness, and treadeth upon the high places of the earth. The Lord, the God of hosts, is his name.
Do you understand who he is? And the thing is that maketh the morning what? Darkness. Not no eclipse. You know what I mean? Just the Lord doing this. You know what I mean? But y'all come with y'all little instruments trying to say what's what. All right? But the people believe in it too because they got money behind it. It's a campaign. And now let's go after cobalt. Let's leave the gases and oil alone. We have to go here to save the world. And now when we turn around and see them saving the world, it's all kind of people dying. Oh, where we at, man? You got to be confused. Now cobalt is killing people. You done left this, now we over here killing them. We done killed them over here for oil and water. Now we killing them for cobalt and materials and minerals and everything else. All right, brother. Where we at? Psalm 90. Let's go to Psalm. I ain't going to tell you what thus say the Lord. I'm going to warn the people. They changed the order of everything. That's Satan's job. Bringing the rainbow inside the class. Okay, if you're going to bring the rainbow in the class, LGBT community, go to the book of Genesis and say it's a covenant with the Lord.
That's all you got to do.
That he won't flood the earth again with animals. You know what I mean? Say that. They bringing these books home and some of the parents shocked and trying to sue. And Tommy's holding Brian's hand in a cartoon. What's going on? And Susie and Julie's together, and everything is copacetic. They raising a boy together, and they just all one love. No, everybody gonna pay under this climate that you so-called changing. All right. Go ahead, brother. What we at?
Psalm 90.
Psalm 90 and verse 1. Go ahead.
Lord, thou hast been our dwelling place in all generations.
Yeah, go ahead.
Before the mountains were brought forth, or ever thou hadst formed the earth and the world,
Yeah.
even from everlasting to everlasting,
Ever.
thou
Go
art
ahead.
God.
Yeah.
Thou turnest man to destruction,
Yeah.
and says, return ye children of men,
Yeah.
for 1,000 years in thy sight are but as yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When it is past, it is as the watching of night.
Yeah.
Thou carriest them away as a flood. They are as they sleep. They are as they sleep. In the morning, they are like grass which groweth up.
You know, so I done seen y'all come, go, get washed away, did all this. And, you know, you got these little groups that sitting around thinking they pushing something there. It's a Gentile dynasty. You know, it's a lot of things got to be fulfilled, but who they got fulfilling it think it's going to be to the end, and it's not. It's going to be thus say the Lord. Go ahead.
In the morning,
Yeah.
it flourishes, it groweth up, and in the evening, it is cut down and withered.
Hold up, so they powerful now, ain't it?
Yeah.
But when the evening comes, that means in time, you're going to be cut down and withered. Go ahead, brother.
For we are consumed by thine anger,
Yeah.
and by thy wrath are we troubled.
And yeah, you know, people are mean. People is real mean, and they can be real dangerous. You know, there's a lot of. They said this year, when COVID hit, you had a more roadside rage than ever before.
Mhm.
People was pulling gas, shooting because you cut them off. I mean, everybody's frustrated. That's why, because the Lord of God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is out of their lives. The truth is falling, man. You know what I mean? Truth is falling in the street. Evil waxing worse and worse, and ain't nothing gonna get better. The book says it's gonna get better. It ain't gonna get better. So what you see now with your eyes is gonna get worse.
That's right.
You know what I mean? The greed of man. You know, now they pushing climate change and global warming now. But see, now they turned their back on another agenda. And see, and what their agenda is about climate change and the power struggle over cobalt rattles the clean energy revelation. That's what they're doing now, of climate change. It's going to continue to get bad, man. It's going to get bad. And if you ain't got the true and living God on your team, then you're going to turn around, you're going to be confused. Your family going to be confused. You know what I mean? They're going to be turning you in when you try to do this truth. They're going to put family against family. Satan is out to deceive. And the day of the Lord is coming. So you need to get yourself together as a people and do something. You know, and I know we come to church and go home for the Sabbath. Come to church and go home for the Sabbath. You know, we got to do a little bit more. You know, I don't know. I don't even know what it is. But I know end time is coming. It's about to be more than what we're doing, ain't it? You know what I mean? Especially being watchmen and being the children of God. We got to do more. Some got to give because ain't nobody paying attention. I don't care what you're talking about the truth. You know what I mean? With that being said, let's get back to it. Go ahead.
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
Thou hast set our iniquities before thee,
Yeah.
our secret sins in the light of thy countenance.
Yeah. That's it?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go and keep this thing moving. And, oh, man. Ooh, it's 1:11. All right. We're going to finish this.
Yeah,
We almost there.
yeah, man.
Oh, we got this thing. All right. Psalm 65.
Don't get this, bro.
I'm seeing what I can skip, but we're going to keep this on track. Psalm 65.
They can just sleep a little longer.
Yeah, after this.
After this.
You know, they just woke up. So they don't need to go back to sleep so fast.
It's good, man.
It's Psalm 65 and 5.
By terrible things and righteousness
Yeah,
with
go
our
ahead.
ancestors.
Yeah.
O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them that are far off upon the sea.
Yeah.
Which by his strength set it fast the
He
mountains,
said it's fast the mountains. Go
being
ahead.
girded with power.
Being girded with power. Go ahead, brother.
Which stilleth the noise of the sea,
Yeah.
the noise of their waves,
Yeah.
and the tumult of the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
They also that dwell in the uttermost parts are afraid of thy tokens.
Yeah.
Thou makest thy outgoings of the mornings and evenings to rejoice.
Yeah, a lot of them was afraid it was 50%, but now it's 10, so they get puffed up. Go ahead.
Thou visited the earth and waterest it.
Yeah.
Thou greatly enriches it with the river of God,
Yeah.
which is full of water. Thou prepared them corn when thou hast so provided for it.
Yeah.
Thou waterest the ridges thereof abundantly. Thou settest the furrows thereof. Thou makest it soft with showers. Thou blessest the springing thereof.
The Lord said he blessing these things. You know, when you get water, you're getting water because he blessing that. He correcting that land, he giving water to the land. He taking away, he putting the drought in the land because he got a reason to put drought on that land. It ain't none of our business why he doing it. You know what I mean? But when he get here, you're going to be happy he got here because you're going to see this good river of water, ain't it?
Right.
It's going to be pure and healed. Go ahead, bro.
Thou crownest the year with thy goodness.
Yeah.
And thy paths drop fatness.
Yeah.
They drop upon the passes of the wilderness, and the little hills rejoice on every side.
Yeah, because everything just flourishing. Go ahead.
The pastures are clothed with flocks. The valleys also are covered over with corn.
Yeah.
They shout for joy. They also sing.
And he gonna heal the land too, ain't he? Everything gonna be healed. But it ain't what man talking about. Because they eating up everything. Clean or unclean. They don't care. All right, now, that's the last of that, right? So, okay, now we're finna go to, it's real simple. This is just a little definition I want to read. Because behind this is scientists. I was telling you about the 50% and the 10% now. And it's two things mentioned about science in the world. If you got a guy shooting pool, he's a pool shark, they call him. And then when he hit that ball, he can make it swerve around. He said, ooh, that boy put science on that thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's something he studied. You know what I mean? Science is something you study and whatnot. But see, in our case, being in the truth of the Lord, or being Daniel, science was studying the Lord. He had science. You know what I mean? Because he know the Lord's law, statute, commandments. If you had a question, Nebuchadnezzar, or Bel, you can come ask him, and he can tell you. That was science. But he going to give you that definition of science of Daniel, and we also going to tell you the definition of science of man. So you got science, they came and made what? Scientists. Now they bigger than the Lord, right? You got Jew, but they came and made Jewish. Ish meaning non-original.
Right.
So this is just like they deal with science. You know what I mean? You got Jehovah Witness, not the religion, but our forefathers witnessed Jehovah. They made a religion out of it. So they just mimicking everything they do. This part says mimic. So science, let's get the definition of science, brother Matt. It's real simple.
Science, a branch of knowledge or study dealing with a body of facts or truths systematically arranged and showing the operation of general laws.
General laws. That's what science is. A branch of knowledge or study. Now Daniel was knowledge and studied up because the Lord gave him that knowledge. You fear God, he give you what? Knowledge and wisdom and understanding, right? So that's what science was. So when we go read this, you understand why science was mentioned in Daniel 1 and 4. Now we're going to go over Daniel 1 and 4. A branch of knowledge is studied during the body of facts of truthfully systematically arranged and showing the operation of general laws. You keep the dietary laws? Yeah, I do. You know what I mean? Keep the clean and unclean laws? Yeah, I do. I'm studied up. I got this knowledge. I got science. Oh my God. On how I operate. That's all this is about. It wasn't about all those science dripping nothing in here and a scale of. No, the Lord already told you who doing what and what he going to do at end time. Let's go to Daniel 1. Daniel 1. Go ahead and read that, brother.
Children in whom was no blemish.
Children in whom was no blemish. It wasn't nothing wrong with these kids. Go ahead.
But well favored. And skillful in all wisdom.
And skillful in all wisdom. This Daniel. He was skillful in all wisdom. Go ahead.
And cunning in knowledge.
Cunning in knowledge.
And understanding science.
And understanding science.
Such as had the ability in them to stand in the king's palace, in whom they might teach the learning and tongue of the Chaldeans.
That's why he was standing there. Because he's going to teach the Chaldeans and the learning. Because he was understanding. He had the knowledge of everything. He had the science. Right? And that's what this is. So these scientists come, and they made scientists, and that's when they knock off the Lord. But see, they even got this from Daniel's time. You know what I mean? Or if not, some close to this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That science is this. Yeah, you got science on different matters. You got the earth. You got the science of plants. You got scientists of different things. But it's the knowledge. The fear God and keep his commandments was the first science. I don't care what you made after that. Now we're going to go to 1 Timothy. They always want to come up with some stuff. And get mad too. You don't know what you're saying. You're making up stuff. You know what I mean? No, it's just strictly book. We don't have to take from it. We fear our God. Now, this is your so-called scientists. These are the ones that's talking about global warming or climate change. That's these scientists. So the Lord, we call the end from the beginning. So he just touched on this real quick. It's like he threw something out there real fast and see who catch it. All right? So it's 1 Timothy 6 and 20. And when he throw it, when he do throw it, with understanding. Go ahead, bro.
Old Timothy.
Old Timothy.
Keep that which is committed to thy trust.
Yeah, keep what you have in your trust. I'm talking about real science, right?
Right.
Go ahead.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings. Now we already seen when they said Joshua, when the sun stopped shining. That's vain babbling, ain't it? The Lord didn't say that. He stopped the sun.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But he didn't stop it from shining. Then they said the eclipse, right? Then the same ones that saying about the climate change is eating up everything in the water. They ain't talking about that. All right, they choosing a certain subject. All right, go ahead. Vain.
Opposition of science,
Yeah.
falsely so called.
Okay, so Old Timothy, keeping which committed to the trust, avoiding profane and vain babbling, the opposition of science, falsely so called. So your science is false. Don't bring your science over here talking about this and that with your vain babbling. But see, Daniel told you the real science, but your science is false. And that's the difference between the both sides. I just want to just share that with y'all, up in here. So we're going to go to Romans 1. Just cut them up a little bit, let the word cut them. Then we out of here with a good old Revelations 21. But we're going to go to Romans 1. Because this is, man, is a trip. We done been through a lot of stuff about what his so-called woman agenda is. It covers a lot of ground. It just ain't one section or nothing. It ain't about the oil and the gas. Romans 1, we're going to read 18 real fast. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
Verse 18.
Romans 1 and 18, yeah.
For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven
Huh?
against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness.
Because they holding the truth in unrighteousness. Skip down to 21.
Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God.
They knew it was a God that was 50-50 now.
Right.
But now it's 10% of them. They ain't trying to glorify him. Go ahead.
Neither were they thankful,
Huh?
but became vain in their imagination.
Yeah.
And their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
And that's what's happening. They're professing themselves to be wise, but they became fools. Now let's go to Revelation 21. Let's end this thing. We know what we worship. You mess around and get ran over. You know what I mean? That's what's going to happen. Revelation 21 and 1. Go ahead, brother.
And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea.
Now let them tell it. This is a new heaven and new earth. The Lord calling this.
Mm-hmm.
So they told you in that I have to go back in this right here to show you the U.S. Regional Effects, U.S. Global Change Research Program. They said this was happening. But the Lord said he got a new heaven and a new earth coming. So they saying we're already pretty much down and out. That's what they saying, unless they do something. Then when they do something, they killing people still with cobalt. You know what I mean? But this is what the Lord saying. He don't care what you said. I'm going to correct everything y'all doing. Because if it was up to y'all, y'all destroy this whole place. But here's the new heaven and the new earth coming. Go ahead, Brother Matt.
And John saw the holy city,
Yeah.
New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her
The
husband.
Lord ain't worried about your climate change and what you pushing. Go ahead.
And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God.
See, this is what's going to happen. This is what the Lord's plan is. It don't matter about what man is saying about what's going to go down in climate change. We're going to all be, doomed one day. It's going to be another ice age. I done heard that. The greenhouse gases are getting everything colder and getting everything hotter like an incubator and all that. It don't matter about that. The Lord's kingdom is coming down. And I don't care what you're talking about. So let's go ahead and go to 22, Matt. 22. We'll read down to 27. Go ahead. Verse 22. Go
And
ahead.
I saw no temple therein.
Yeah.
For the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it.
He said he's seen no temple because the Lord and the Lamb is the temple. Go ahead.
And the city had no need of the sun,
Uh-oh.
neither of the moon.
There go your eclipse.
Yep, to shine.
How your instrument ready then?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
For the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof.
Okay, so you ain't going to have no temple. Because the Lord and the Son and the Father going to be the temple. You ain't going to have no light. Because they going to be the light. You understand? Go ahead.
All in the nations of them which are saved shall walk in it, in the light of it.
Yeah.
And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor unto it.
So the main ones that saying this, pushing this, going to have to be in line to come serve the king.
Yeah.
Ain't that something? That's if they believe. If they not in the lake of fire. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
And the gates of it shall not be shut all by day, for there shall be no night there.
Ain't no more night. Get your instruments on that. You didn't went to the past, go to the future on that. You can't.
That's right.
You're just a man. You're something to be here for 80 years, and if you're living right, 70 if you ain't. But max is 120. So how you gonna come on this earth and tell the Lord what he got planned? It ain't just a smidgen here in the world. Go ahead.
And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it.
Yeah.
And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defile it, neither whatsoever worketh abomination or maketh a lie.
That ain't coming in there, is it?
Nope.
Go ahead.
But they which are written in the Lamb's book of life.
And they that are which in the Lamb is written in the Lamb of the book of life. And that's the lesson, people. And I think somebody got some understanding. I hope.
I did.
Yeah. And I thank you for your time.
Yeah. Good lesson.
Climate change in the hand of the Lord. Sorry it took so long, but it was well worth it. Hope y'all learned something today about different subjects and how I work the dietary law off in there and how it's important unclean animals has a purpose. You know, and you just can't eat everything. You know what I mean? That's what they doing. So with that being said, Brother Matt, we'll close out. Everybody stand up and face the room. Long time.
Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Man, I almost made it through there.
Yeah.
That was a good lesson, boy.
Made it.
Man, that was a good lesson.
Maybe we could busting up there for 12 hours working.
Huh?
That's a little thing right there.
That's a beautiful lesson, bro.
Yeah, that's just a little something.